Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat Podcast. Of course, the final whistle has just gone. Wolves 2, Tottenham Hotspur 1. Of course, we had a dream start, but 2 goals right at the end have sunk Spurs after Brennan Johnson's first goal in the Tottenham Hotspur shirt. And Postecoglou has just said we could have been a bit more positive and aggressive with the ball. As usual, I've got 3 very special guests to talk about today's defeat. Of course, it is 2 defeats in a week. We've got back with us actor Ricky Norwood. Rick, how are you?
I'm okay, my friend. I'm okay. Well, the bubble's definitely been burst, hasn't it? Do you know what I mean? But it's all good. I think today's display, I think we knew that there was going to be problems, but we saw a lot of grit and determination from the boys. Okay, we came up short today, but, you know, the effort that those guys coming in today put in, you could definitely see that they were fighting for the cause. So, all right, we've come up short today, but and we all know the reasons why. But we go again. We will certainly get into it. We've also got entertainer Gary Maloney back with us. Gary, how are you?
Football aside, I'm amazing. Apart from football, I'm really good. I couldn't be better. Life is perfect. Just a shame I support Tottenham, but everything else in my life is spot on.
We've also got Johnny Bow back with us, of course, radio presenter with Dublin's Q102. Johnny, how are you?
Great. I became a Hotspur member recently, Hotspur Plus, and I bought my new jersey, you know, when everything was going great. And now it's a bit of a back down to earth kind of job. But no, I'm good. Yeah, like the lads, I'm good. But, you know, today's disappointing, but we'll talk about it in due course.
Well, let's get straight into it. Let's start with some comments from Ange Postecoglou straight after the game. He said, obviously, it's disappointing. The goals going in so late. We worked so hard to that point. It's part of the pain of football when these things happen, conceding 2 late goals. In these circumstances, you've just got to take it. We ran out of legs. Can't fault the players' effort or commitment. It was always going to be a tough game anyway at Wolves. We just couldn't hold out. And goal scorer Brennan Johnson has just said, we're tasting defeat and it's really sickening. All of the boys are feeling the same and we've got to lift ourselves. Ricky, let's start the show with you. Your thoughts on today's game, because it did seem to be the perfect start. And then, of course, I was feeling very disappointed with a 1-1 draw, let alone then going on to lose the game.
Yeah, very much so. I'm very much a bit like you, bro. You know, the boys came in. The boys that did come in, you know, they definitely put everything out there and they tried their hardest. And you could see the effort, you could see the grit, the determination. We started well. It was great for Brennan to kind of get a proper run out, but he kind of seems like super unlucky right now, you know. Played well for a long period of time, but then came off, and I mean, maybe you can let us know in a minute, Chris, but I don't know whether he went off with an injury or not. We just didn't have enough, mate. We just didn't have enough today. I thought Pedro Porro played really well. I thought Dyer done well, you know, for his first start of the season. I thought Ben Davies was Ben Davies, you know, somebody who you can rely on. And all right, he might not have the pace, he might not have the kind of the silky abilities, but he definitely put in all of his strengths into today's game and tried his hardest. You know, Emerson Royal at left back, it was tough. It's always going to be tough when the fullbacks bomb forward, but him not being a naturally left-sided fullback, you could see the kind of niggles around that, and not having Maddison, Van der Ven, Romero in the side, you could just see that we just didn't have the same control, the same play, the same dictation of a game, the same creativity. It was tough for the boys, and it was tough for the boys to do that today after all of the efforts and all of the energy that they put into Monday. Do you know what I mean? There was a lot of those players that were on the field today that, I don't know how many minutes it was. It felt like 500 minutes that it went on for a Monday night. But, you know, they came back in and they gave it a go. It's not like we didn't go down fighting. It's tough to take right at the end of the game. But Wolves, after we scored, Wolves just grew and grew and grew into the game. And to be fair to them, they could have, maybe should have scored a lot earlier than what they did. But yeah, I think the problems are definitely glaring there. You can see where some of the squad are not kind of Ange players in the sense of their bravery, in the sense of their kind of footedness, their kind of creativity, the risk taking and stuff like that. I mean, if you look at that second half, I don't know how many times we got the ball into Sonny for a shot. You know, it was very, very little. It was very, very rare. And I think the commentator said that the Lo Celso shot was the first shot on target in that whole second half. So, you know, this is not the Spurs that we are used to seeing this season. But it's a far cry away from that Fulham Carabao Cup game. You know, there was a major difference in the second side in that Carabao Cup game. And you could see a big difference in those players that came in today that wanted to get the result, that fought for it, and that tried their hardest. It's just that we came up short today. And yes, it's disappointing, but I don't think that our season's over. I don't think that this is doom and gloom. I think that this is definitely a wake-up call in the sense of what's required in an Ange Postecoglou squad. You know, not only the ability, but the character from certain players. So, okay, we came up short today. It is disappointing. I am upset about it, but I'm trying to be calm with it and kind of go, well, we've got some tough games coming up, and this is going to be a real massive test of the squad and of what's going on. And Ange is, you know, he's put some players in today to try and work on a new solution. And maybe he's got to go back to the drawing board to kind of to work out a different solution for the next game. You know, luckily for the first time this season, we've got an international break that we can all cheer. Do you know what I mean? So to try and get some players back to fitness, to try and see who's available after that international break, and to give this side a little bit of some time to work on with these new players. I say new players, but do you know what I mean? They're part of the squad. Of course they're part of the squad. And of course they've been training, but to work on new tactics and to work on the strengths of what the new players that have come into this side can bring. So, yes, thoroughly disappointed, but I still have faith in Ange. I still have faith in the boys and in the squad. And for me to see their determination today and to see them to try to continue playing the same way was a positive today. Yes, we didn't get the result, but it was definitely a positive to kind of see those players attempting to play that way. Are you there, Chris?
Ricky, just a quick yes or no, literally a yes or no. A week or so ago, we had a very long conversation on a stream. You told me that Spurs were title contenders. Do you still think that Spurs are title contenders? Yes or no?
No, you asked the question, are Spurs title contenders? And I said, the fact that you're asking the question, of course we are, because we're in the conversation. Do you know what I mean? There are going to be bumps and bruises along this whole season. Nobody knows what's going to happen. You know, there's massive teams out there. So are we title contenders? Of course we are, because we're still, the question is still being asked. Only until that question is not required to be asked will we be out of that race. We all knew that that it's going to be tough. We all knew that it wasn't going to be easy. We all knew that there was going to be a dip. We all knew that there was going to be a battle to face. So, of course, I still have faith in the boys, and I still have faith in the squad, and I still have faith in Ange Postecoglou and what he's bringing to this side. But today's result, today's performance, you can see where the problems are, and you can see what we need to address in the forthcoming transfer windows. So, are we still in the conversation? Of course, we are. Do I think that we're going to lift the trophy at the end of it? Probably unlikely. Do you know what I mean? But are we in the conversation? Of course we are. And now the rest of the league can celebrate. Not only did we lose against Chelsea, but we've lost again. So every other fan that has been wishing us hate and haven't enjoyed this period of time where we've been unbeaten, well, now all of those can rejoice. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about us, bruv. It's all about us. It's all about what attitude those boys put onto the field. And I think that they're going for it. They're not just going for the title. They're going for the win every single game. And I said, it's one step at a time, one step at a time. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the present moment. Don't look at the peak of the mountain that you've got to climb. Just look at the next couple of steps that you've got to take in front of you. And we will get to the destination that we're going. It was never going to be yes or no, Chris. Come on, you know that.
I know. The reason why I've not got carried away in the last couple of weeks, even though we were unbeaten in the first 10 Premier League games, is the fact that I thought if we have an injury or two to key players, then it's just going to derail us. And that is exactly what has happened, sadly. James Maddison, we really missed today. 3 of our back 4 were out today. And now Basuma is going to be missing for the Aston Villa game because he received a 5th yellow card of the season today. Gary, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's game.
Just disappointing. Just really annoyed, you know. But, as I was watching it, I had my Vicario shirt on, and then with 7 minutes to go, I took it off and threw it on the floor. And that's pretty much how I felt about the game today. And, you know, certain Tottenham players annoy me, like Basuma. There's absolutely no need to get a book in there. Just use your brain, mate. Why are you blocking the ball and getting a booking and then knowing you're going to miss next game? Okay, it's Villa, it's not City, but even so, stupid. I don't want to go too hard on Dyer and Davis and Emerson Royal and all that, but what do you expect? I mean, I didn't expect anything else but a defeat today. And I get what Ricky's saying, and a lot of what he's saying I agree with. Yeah, they dug in deep and everything else, but I'm sorry, you're 1-0 up. There's 7 minutes to go into a game left. You see the game out. You don't concede 2 goals. There's just absolutely no excuses for it. So for me, I'm annoyed with Tottenham. I'm annoyed with the players. But ultimately, they did try, but they're just not good enough. You know, let's be honest about it. I mean, it's no surprise Son didn't have a shot on goal. Who's feeding the ball to him? You know, you take out all them players we've just spoke about, and that team out there today were rubbish. I mean, Wolves deserved the win. Although we were 7 minutes away from winning it, we didn't really deserve the win. Great opening goal. You know, the link up and Kulu and Johnson, brilliant. But after that, that was pretty much it. The rest of the game, we were flat, we were poor. It was like looking at a Nuno game. And I will mention as well, you know, because Craig I was talking to after the game, because we like to vent with each other because we get very angry, me and Craig. And he was right, because we were talking about it. I mean, today we were poor, we were awful, but we were very lucky against Sheffield United and also Liverpool as well. And that was with our full team. I mean, you could probably call that the B team out there today. But even in those games and a few of the other games, apart from like Burnley and stuff, we haven't looked massively convincing. So for me, I never thought we would be going for the Premier League. I still don't. Do I think we're going to probably lose quite a few more games now? Yes, we will. Because with that team out there, they can have all the heart and determination they want. But Ben Davis, Dyer, Emerson Royal sliding in and getting that booking. I look at these players with some of their decision making and I just think, what are you doing? It's just, honestly, but I just need to just touch on what Ricky said, because for me this week, Chelsea fans, Liverpool fans and Arsenal fans have been unbearable. They've literally been unbearable. Like, honestly, I mean, I've had to block so many Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool fans. And yeah, look, you know, it's banter, I get that. But especially Chelsea fans, you need to be a bit more humble with that win. You know, it was down to 9 men. You got beaten by Brentford the week before, and you're coming in the DMs and you're giving it large. Just be a little bit more respectful when you win, and be a little bit more humble. But going back to the game, today's game, we deserved to lose, but we shouldn't have. But we did deserve to lose. And I think against Villa, and well, I will say against Villa it's a defeat. But with Man City, as bad as we are, Ben Davis will probably get the winner because it's Man City and we are their bogey team. The same way we capitulated against Chelsea, that will probably happen against City with us. I know it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but somehow we always seem to get something off of them. But yeah, really disappointed today, poor, and it's the usual suspects. But you can't put too much blame on them because they're only as good as they are. And that's it. You know, I'll be honest with you, Chris, I had the game on, but I didn't even sit down and properly watch it because I couldn't bear to watch that game today because our link-up play, trying to get the ball forward, the passing, it was really bad. Really, really bad.
Gary, as Ange said, today's game was always going to be difficult. And when you think of the last 3 Wolves games at home, they've got a draw against Newcastle, a draw against Aston Villa, and they've also beaten the champions Manchester City.
Yeah.
They've had some good results. Does it frustrate you more that the fact that there was a lack of concentration in the final few minutes with some of these players? Because we've said it time and time again. I think I know the players that you're referring to.
Yeah.
I think on this show, on this channel, we've mentioned it many times. Under management of Pochettino, Jose, Nuno, Conte, we've said it about some of the same players.
Yeah,
it just does prove, doesn't it? You take a couple of key players out of this starting 11.
100%. 100%. Yeah, and Chris, honestly, the longer the game went on, and you're thinking of Dyer, Davis, and Royale on there, it was only going to end one way. We scored too early. It's always good to get a goal, don't get me wrong, but we scored way too early. And the longer that game went on, I think we had one shot in the first, one in the second. When we had an opportunity to get a second goal, when we missed that, I was literally saying to my boy, I was in the kitchen, he was sitting there, and I said, we're losing this game 2-1. We're not, Dad. I said, we are, because we've got the usual suspects on the pitch. They're sitting deep. They're not creating nothing. And then there comes the mistake from Dyer for 1-1. I don't know where Davis was with his man. Emerson Royale. Same shit, different day. And it's going to get worse against Villa, because that's not even a good side, Wolves, today. I mean, they deserve to beat us, but neither team were good today. But the frustrating part is, Chris, you're 7 minutes, and then you're 7 minutes away from a win, and you're like 1 minute away from a draw. I mean, I can't give the players any praise for that. They don't deserve any. They really, really don't, because there's just no excuses, mate. That's just my opinion. People in the chat will feel differently. But, when I'm looking at that game and we're not getting that second goal with that team that's out there, I'm thinking, we're going to lose this game. I don't know how you felt in the stadium, Chris, but I knew it was coming. And it did. So it's frustrating, but it is what it is.
Disappointment. And I tell you what, you say about how the feeling was inside the stadium. I think that a lot of people just thought, here we go again. Different manager, different players. It's like the same old thing has happened to Tottenham Hotspur again. I was messaging back and forward Anthony Costa last night, and Anthony always says that Tottenham Hotspur are cursed. And I tell you what,
he's right.
This week, I'm starting to believe him. It's just like whatever can go wrong does go wrong for Spurs. Johnny, let's come to you. Sorry about the wait. Ricky and Gary, they do love to talk. Let's get your thoughts on the game.
Heartbroken, guys. Absolutely heartbroken. I was hoping, I had a feeling it would be a loss or a draw. I didn't think we were going to win the game today before it started. So when it went 1-1, I was going to think, right, okay, I can live with a point. It'll still prop us up on the table, maybe get into first or whatever. So, but to lose it like that, that is, when you hear people, when I meet people and we get talking, even strangers or whatever, you're talking in coffee shops. Oh, what team do you support? I go, Spurs, there, Man United. Oh, good old Spurs is what people usually say. Oh, same old Spurs. And it was like that a bit today, you kind of expect it's going to happen, because when they scored that equaliser, that crowd really lifted in that stadium. And you could sense, we're going to lose this. It was like that time when Antonio Conte was there. You just see us losing this one. And one of your viewers there, Chris, just put up, I think King Hoddle, he just put up a super chat there, 2 shots, 1 on target. I mean, that's really not good enough. So it just goes to show that the manager doesn't fancy some of those players to implement what he wants to do in the match. He Maddison and Van de Ven and all, they understand the strategy, what he wants them. But when you see Lo Celso coming on and Breen Gill and all that sort of stuff, you kind of know it's the same old stuff we've had over the last few years. And the team is depleted. It's not strong enough. You look at Arsenal and Spurs, they've more backup really if they do get injuries. We're screwed if we get a major injury. And it's really disappointing to see that the 2 major players that have played such a big role in our performances so far are going to be missing till after Christmas. And that's very disappointing. So I wouldn't be overly confident now going into Aston Villa and playing Manchester City. I could see a loss to Aston Villa. And I'm not being doom and gloom. I just have to feel that team, if the same team goes out like they did today, Aston Villa will probably beat us, to be honest. And I think Manchester City, in previous years, they're our bogey team or whatever. We are their bogey team. I have a feeling that they probably might be too strong as well, because we're playing a different style. It's all attack or nothing, but we didn't do that today. We weren't doing the whole attacking thing like we've been doing. So it clearly shows that he doesn't believe those players can carry out the tactics and the strategy. So that's where we are, and it's very disappointing. I understand the frustration with the guys there. I feel so angry, but then I have to keep saying to myself, I can't let it get to me. It's not my team. It's my team that I support. I'm not playing in the team, so I can't do anything about it. But can you imagine how they feel in the dressing room after that? Because they've been flying. They've really excelled. And then to have 2 defeats, and really, to be honest with you, if we had 11 men on the pitch against Chelsea, we would have won that game 2-1 or 3-1, to be honest. That was but it was the fact that we lost. It wasn't the fact that we lost 4-1. It was the fact that we lost so many players because of the style he plays. And I spoke to a friend of mine who's actually getting his UEFA B license. He's having to go through all the courses that you have to do to get that. And he said in the training for that, Ange Postecoglou, what he did when he went down to 9 men, and this attacking thing, that's not trained. Postecoglou is doing exactly the opposite of what the training is for your UEFA B license and all that kind of thing. You're supposed to defend. You know what I mean? You're supposed to put the 9 men behind the ball and hold out. You don't go and just keep attacking. So it's completely it's like a phenomenon what he's doing. And when things are going really well, it's great. But I don't know whether that can be prolonged in the Premier League because of the level of teams that you have to play. And you saw Liverpool a few weeks ago when they were down to 9 men. It's kind of ironic. We ended up in that situation as well against Chelsea. But you saw what Liverpool did. They did put men behind the ball. But we did the opposite when we were down to 9 men. And I don't know, he's just ripping up the rule books. He's ripping up the coaching manuals and he's doing his own thing. And you're either with him or you're not. It's very exciting, but today's disappointing. Look, fingers crossed for the next one that we can go on and get a victory and get back on track, you know?
You know what? Can I just jump in real quickly before you move on? I just wanted to give some credit to some of those players that, especially with their futures uncertain, right? And I know that, look, us as Spurs fans know that some of these players that have been in the squad for so long, that they should and need to move on for their own careers, and because their cycle has ended at Tottenham. We're moving in a different direction. But the professionality of someone like Højbjerg and Dyer, even though both of them have had their critics, both of them have had their ups and their downs with us, the fact that they came in determined against Chelsea and again today with their futures up in the air to kind of put in a shift, that's what I give credit to. I give credit to their character for coming in and not downing tools and not kind of going on there sulking or anything. They came in there to do something, but we all know that they're not the players that Ange and we need in this new cycle, in this new era of Tottenham. You know, we do definitely need, the pace at the back. We do definitely need the creativity in the middle. We need that forward passing. We need that bravery. We need that risk taking. And these players, Dyer, Davies, and Højbjerg, they don't come from that. So the fact that they kind of went in there professionally to kind of do a job for the side, for the shirt, and for all of us fans that are watching at home and those that were in the stadium, yes, it might not have lived up to expectation. Yes, it might not have been the best that they could have given, but they went out there and they left everything on the field. Do you know what I mean? And this style of football actually plays against their strengths. Do you know what I mean? We don't expect to see, as soon as we saw the defense today, I think we all had something within us that was like, today's going to be tough because the pace, the high line, the running backwards, Davies, Dyer, that's not their strength. Do you know what I mean? But they came in and they put everything on the line right up until the last minute, but they did lose legs. They did run out of energy. They did, and these players have not had any rhythm. They haven't had any opportunity to kind of get a couple of games or get minutes under their belt. They're coming in cold and expected to be as flying and as forceful and as forward thinking as all those players that we've lost. And it's a freak incident. I mean, it would only happen at Tottenham, but it's a freak incident that we get 2 red cards and 2 key players injured in one game where we've got to deal with that. Normally, if we would have had 2 players sent off and the other 2 stayed fit, then we can kind of mix and match and kind of go, all right, cool. Well, we'll stay solid at the back. We're still doing this at the back. But then, okay, we've got to try and find a creative outlet for the loss of Maddison or something like that. We couldn't have that because we've lost four key players in our 11. It's not just the one. We're not just talking about Thomas Partey missing. We're not just talking about Bruno Fernandes missing or Rash. We're talking about 4 key players that are missing, and that have totally revolutionized the way that we play, the way that we are. It looked a lot like last season, right? With those 4 players coming in, but playing a different style and playing against their strength. But the fact that they went out there and done it, that's what I give credit to. Yes, we all know that they should move on. Yes, we all know that we need Ange players in those positions so that when stuff like this does happen, that they can come in and without a breath, do you know what I mean? Without thinking, play that way. But all these boys that were on there today that have come in to do a job, they're all overthinking as well. They're all trying to get what is needed and what is required from that management and what the message is from that management. They're all trying to do this. So that's where I give them credit. Are they the best replacements for what we've lost? No, we all know that. But did they come in and try? Did they come in and leave it on the field? I can say, yes, they done that. Was it up to par? No. But did they do it? Yeah. You know, if you remember when Eriksen wanted to leave and he didn't go in the summer and then he ended up going in January, you know, I think we all saw and was all disappointed that Eriksen, not to say he downed tools, but it's not like he played up to his level. It's not like he played up to the 100% that we know him as. And these players could have come in and done the same. That are looking for a move in January. They could have just been like, nah, what, you want me now? You wanted to push me out into the sidelines. You wanted to leave me in the wilderness, but now you want me. Now you want me to save you. Now you want me to put in effort. But none of them thought that came in today. From what I saw from body language and effort and determination. Were they up to par? No. But did they go out there and try their best for us? I think they did.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Rick. And I think that the January window coming up, of course, we need to do more business in that. And Ange Postecoglou said many times that it is a process. And so far in this process, it's gone pretty well for him. 8 wins from 12 Premier League games, 2 draws. I know it's been a poor week, but I'm not that too disheartened by this week because I know what Ange Postecoglou is doing. And I think a lot of Spurs fans feel that. But when you consider, and we've said this year after year, you know, particularly since the Pochettino days, some of these players, when they are a fringe player and when they do get their opportunity, it's about grabbing it. You know, even if you've not had many minutes this season, which some of these players haven't, it is about really grabbing that opportunity, showing the manager, showing the fans, I want to be here, I'm a good player, I should be in this starting 11. And it's just a shame in so many recent years that a lot of players haven't taken that opportunity. Gary, let's come to you. Stephen writes here, distribution from the back was tough. No central thrust in midfield shown. Poro, Kulusevski, Vicario, Davis stood out. Basuma was poor. Wolves, excellent. Go Ange. I know we're going to come on to team selection in a second and talk about Tottenham starting 11, but with Bentancur coming on in the game, do you think that Ange perhaps should have started Bentancur? Because I feel that, I know we're going to say it a lot during this stream, and we've said it in the last couple of days about, you take a player like James Maddison out of this team, that is hell of a loss.
Oh, massively. I mean, obviously he's just come back from the injury and stuff, but it's just like I said, Chris, it's just a hard watch. And I think if we had just ended the game 1-1, I would have been slightly more positive. But just the manner of the defeat, and we created so little. And I totally understand what Ricky's saying with them players, but let's not forget, most of them are on 150 grand a week. So I'm not going to say well done. You know, like they should be doing everything they can. They should be wearing the shirts on their sleeve, but they're just not good enough. Like, and it's our own fault.
You're doing a Roy Keane. It's their job.
Yeah, it's our own fault. At the end of the day, we were stupid against Chelsea, and I don't know why we tend to always lose our heads against Chelsea. But that, you know, you touched on it earlier. Obviously, 11 man on the pitch, we beat them, but we didn't have 11 man on the pitch because we've got a couple of injuries. We've got stupid sending offs. You know, Romero again. How many times are we going to have this conversation over Romero? Today with Basuma, annoying. Emerson Royale sliding in like absolutely no reason to, doesn't need to. And just, all right, you've conceded. You're away from home. Wolves were crap today. We were crap today. You just say, you know what? We just shut up shop. We go home with a point. We could have won it, but we did score very early on in the 3rd minute. After that, we didn't create anything. We had an opportunity to get a second, but, you know, there was nothing in midfield, nothing up front. I didn't even know Son was playing today. And partly that, you could put some of that to Son, but a lot of that is we've lost Maddison and everyone else, so there's nothing in midfield. But you at least get a draw. I'm not going to be on your show today and say, do you know what? The guys went out there and fair play and all that. No, because you've conceded in the 91st and the 97th minute. And you are professional footballers playing away at Wolves. Now, make a statement, come away with a win or a draw. Do not concede and lose in the 97th minute. I know it happened. I know we did it ourselves against Sheffield United, and I know we did it against Liverpool, but you've embarrassed yourself on Monday by getting involved in silliness with a West London team that you don't need to. They're not even our rivals. They're from West London, for Christ's sake. It's a joke. You know, you're getting 2 men sent off in that game. With 10 men, we still beat them. You go down to 9 men. The injuries, you know, you can't. Injuries are injuries. But I'm sorry, mate. But if ever there was a week that was owned by Tottenham Hotspur, it's this week. And I can't, after Monday night, watch that game today and have much positive thoughts or anything positive for Tottenham. I really can't. Because to lose that game in the manner that we lost it, it's just not acceptable. If we'd gone 1 down after 3 minutes and lost the game, okay, fair enough, the quarter's early, you know, new team playing together. You've gone 91 minutes in a game. You've created nothing. It's not like we're even playing with a high line, because we weren't. We didn't create nothing. We had more opportunities against Chelsea.
Gary, see the bigger picture, though. Come on.
No, I'm sorry. No, listen.
The opening 10
I won't
games
see the
of the
bigger
Premier
picture. I'll
League
tell you
season.
why. No, hold on. We
You
lost
can see
on
what
Monday.
Postecoglou's doing.
No, hang on. We lost on Monday to Chelsea in a game we should have comfortably won 3 or 4-0. The boys lost their heads and we got embarrassed. I've had it all week from Chelsea, Liverpool and Arsenal fans. Go out against Wolves. I know some of them players ain't great, but they're still on 150 grand a week, and at least get a draw or a win. Do not concede in the 91st and 97th minute. This is what we was doing with Nuno. This is embarrassing, mate. Come on. Yes, you know, players that could come back from suspensions, injuries into the new year and everything else. But I don't even know what's going to happen when Romero comes back. I really don't know with Romero. He's another one now where it's time and time again. At Stamford Bridge, he should have been sent off. He can't be pulling the Chelsea players out and then going in. He should have got sent off before he got sent off. These are things where, yeah, you can maybe look at the bigger picture, but right here and now, it's not acceptable losing 2-1 away to Wolves in the 97th minute. And I don't care what team's on the pitch, mate. It really ain't. Just my opinion.
Yeah. Johnny, surely you can see the bigger picture in what Ange Postecoglou's trying to do. And, you know, his hands were tied today. The fact that he had to make so many changes. And I think that all of us know, I think Ange Postecoglou knows, you know, he's frozen Eric Dyer out all season. Of course, he's had to put the likes of Eric Dyer back in today. Not that I'm saying it's Eric Dyer's fault today, but, you know, there is a big quality difference. It's fair to say.
Yeah, look, I see where Gary's coming from, and I know, Chris, you yourself, you know, you want to stay in a positive way. It's just not good enough on the 91st and 97th minute for any team in any league to just lose like that. And because we've done things like that in the past, I think people are just getting a little bit kind of nervous now. I understand that. But having said that, the style of play that Postecoglou wants to play is attacking, whereas Antonio Conte and Nuno Espirito Santo was all kind of defensive type stuff. But I think when Nuno was there, didn't we win against Manchester City and Burnley or something? And then we lost to Crystal Palace. We lost to Crystal Palace 3-0. Might have been at their ground, I can't remember, but it was at that stage I got that kind of feeling that I'm getting now. And so I'm just praying praying that we beat Aston Villa and get a draw against Manchester City or something like that, because then we're back on track and the other players will hopefully come back. But if it goes into if we lose the next game, then I'm that's going to affect their thing. Now, it may not happen, and we have to stay positive. I can definitely see improvement in the team. There's no doubt about that. It's not like when we were playing under Nuno and Antonio Conte. This is a different style of football. And this manager, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the dressing room after the game today, because I think what he would say is, guys, you can't do that, mate. You can't play like that at the last minute. What happened there? You just crumbled, mate. We're not going to do that in Spurs going forward. He'd be saying stuff like that. I could just imagine. I'm not going to tolerate. Let's just draw a line on the sand, mate, because I'm going to let you away with this one. I can tell you, if that happens at Aston Villa, it's going to be fucking war, mate. Yeah, sorry for the cursing, but that's what he's going to say. And when he says it like that, you know you can't get away. So I'm a bit more confident that we'll beat Aston Villa, because I think there's going to be a meeting on Monday where he's not going to allow them to get into that kind of negative frame of mind. So I think as fans, I think we all need to and I'm not telling people what to do what you want on social media, but I think we have to be a little bit more positive as well and put out positive tweets. I certainly will be, but it's hard sometimes after the match because, as Gary says, you have friends who are Arsenal fans or Chelsea fans and work colleagues, and they're texting you and all that sort of stuff. So you get into all that banter, and it's kind of frustrating. But at the same time, you give it back to them when they're struggling as well. So what goes around comes around. But no, look, I listened to Andy Townsend on Talk Sport during the week. I was listening to Carragher and Neville. And although sometimes I don't always agree with what they're saying, I have to say Andy Townsend was right. Gary, you mentioned Romero there just quickly. He's great and he has gotten us out of a lot of problems this season. There's no doubt about that. But there is that liability kind of crown on his head at the moment. He's a bit of a liability. And as I said on Twitter during the week, imagine if we were in a final and it comes down to like the 92nd minute and Salah, we're playing Liverpool, Salah, gets tackled. He goes in on a sliding tackle. That's the kind of thing he does. So if he can cut that liability type thing out of his game, absolutely welcome him back and things will go good. But he just has that tag at the moment. He's flying in for tackles, which are just a bit over the top, and he needs to calm down,
Can I jump in on Romero for a second? With Romero, I think, first and foremost, he is a world-class defender. You see when he's on song how fantastic he is, how composed he is, how calm he is. Since he was given the vice captaincy as well, you've seen him kind of grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. We came up against Chelsea, who are a rival, who we do have history with, fans and team, battle of the bridge, etc., etc. It's always a war. And when it's time for war, Kuti kind of can go overboard. Now, with him having the captain's armband, I would really hope that him not just being sent off against Chelsea, but him missing these next 3 games should affect him in such a way that he's like, I don't want to let this team down again, because he's a vice captain. We've lost that leadership group. There was only Sonny on there today that could hold the armband, because we've lost that core, that kind of through line, from Sonny to Madders to Kuti, who were growing every single week, and you could see the determination. What I would also kind of compare that to is 2 other kind of arguably world-class defenders in Sergio Ramos, Pepe, Carvalho in the Chelsea times. There have been a couple of hotheads in the past, but that doesn't distract away from the qualities that they bring. If you weigh up his qualities against his negativities, I will still take the qualities and hope that someone like Ange and somebody like the rest of the leadership group, like Maddison and Sonny, hold him to account and kind of say, man, look, Kuti, listen, we love it. And you've got to remember how aggressive he is, right? He's aggressive in defense, but he's also aggressive in offense as well. When somebody scores, what does he do? He kicks our own players up the backside. He punches them in the ribs. He slaps the back of the neck. This is what he comes from, right? The reason that he got red cards and yellow cards before under Mourinho, under Conte, was because he was very frustrated with the style of football that was being played. He's almost like an old school defender that likes to put in a slide challenge to wake the rest of the side up. Where we was playing such boring, turgid football last year, we saw more frustration come from Romero. But where we're playing front-footed, where we're attacking, where we're going for games, where we never say quit, never say die attitude, he was well up for that. It just came down to a battle. It came down to a war against Chelsea where he lost his head. And this is where we need the best out of Romero. This is where, we've got to switch his qualities and kind of go, instead of going super aggressive, go super calm, go super ice cold, ice and fire together, and you will kind of sing in those.
He was doing good this season though, Ricky, wasn't he? He was doing good.
To me, he's been fantastic. I think I can't remember how long it was that him and Van der Ven, and him having a partner in Van der Ven, makes a total difference. But they went so long without even picking up a yellow card.
Nothing.
And that says a lot to me. So let's not put him into the ground. Let's not shove him to one side, because Real Madrid would never shove Sergio Ramos to the side, especially in his peak. It's only when he got to a certain age where they was like, all right, and Sergio, it's time to move on now. Otherwise, they'd still have him there. So
can I just say, Ricky, as well?
His qualities outweigh his negativities. Go for it.
I'll just say quickly on the Romero one. I don't actually think the tackle, what he got a straight red for, to me, it wasn't that bad of a tackle. I know it was studs up a little bit, but he kind of threw his body on the line and went for it. If anything, it was before that with the petulant kick out. You know, I think when he was defending that, I think the issue you have now is those type of players like what Chris mentioned earlier, Roy Keane and all them sort of players. You just can't do it in today's game because you've got players that are going to roll around. You've got VAR. As soon as it goes to the screen and it slows down and it's like this back and forth, you're gone. But for me, I don't know about you guys. In my mind, with Romero, he's a great player. I love him. But I think to myself, if he comes back and gets one more red card and it's gone again, I don't know where I am with him. I think I'm almost feeling like, not like I'm his manager, but I'm feeling in my mind, I'll give him one more chance. But unless I can see him really trying to make a change and we go 1 or 2 games, he gets a straight red again. I don't know what we do with him because we can't afford to go for the rest of the season and be losing him 3 games all the time. It's just too much.
But Gal, look at him in the first 10 games. Before that Chelsea game, look at him.
Yeah.
So let's give him credit for the first 10 games.
Yeah,
10 games consistently, right? Before he lost his head in a battle. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what?
In a war.
It's funny, Ricky, because before the Chelsea game, I was nervous about Romero because of what happened at Stamford Bridge. And it's almost like he's a world-class defender, but you don't want to play him against Arsenal or Chelsea because you're too nervous. But you have to play him in them games. But when you do, he does stuff like how he didn't get sent off for that at the Bridge is bizarre, but he's physically pulled him down. I mean, some people say that's karma because he should have been off. We probably shouldn't have got the equaliser. But watching him that Chelsea game, it's almost like he's so fired up and read up. And in today's game, you just can't have any of that. You can't get away with it. And players now know, Ricky, like this is a good point you've made. Players now know, like we know, we can get Romero sent off because if we wind him up a bit and sort of give him a couple of little knocks and just get him going, he's going to buy it. And, you know, we don't want them knowing that about Romero. And that's the worry I have with him. But I will say, Ricky, you're spot on because he is a world-class defender. And, you know, not having him today showed massively.
And look at Delhi when we took the fire out of Delhi, how Delhi changed, right? And look, I don't want him punching the goalkeeper, Delhi. I don't want Delhi punching the goalkeeper in the ribs when we get a corner. But look what happened when we took the fire out of him. Look what happened when we dampened him. So it's about control. And at the same time, Real Madrid would never take Sergio Ramos out of the Champions League final.
Do you know what,
he would
Ricky,
still be the first name on the sheet.
If Romero played in that game today, because Wolves were so poor and weren't really threatening a lot, he wouldn't have got booked. And we probably would have won that game. And that's the frustrating part about it. Because they didn't really offer much, Wolves, either.
No, but this is where the frustration can be a learning moment. And I think in life, when we make mistakes, you can either kind of go deep, dark and negative and be like, oh, woe is me. Or you can learn the lesson from it and you can push forward. And the fact that he's let the team down against Chelsea and then for the next 3 games, it's about that leadership group. It's about that squad holding him to account and him feeling it, that he's let the side down a bit. And seeing what reaction we get from Romero.
I actually think by you bringing all this up about Romero, somehow it spun a positive out of losing today. I'm thinking in my mind now that Romero would be looking at that, thinking if I was on that pitch, there's no way in the world we would have conceded them 2 goals so late. I genuinely believe that.
Gary, the only thing I said earlier about see the bigger picture, because obviously I know we'll talk about Ange Postecoglou later, and he's the Fringe manager of the month awards for August, September, and October. He certainly brought the club on, brought the club forward, and everyone's excited again by this type of football that we're playing. And the opening 10 games, unbeaten. We know what's coming, and we know that he's going to strengthen in the January transfer window and the summer transfer window and improve this squad. So hopefully there are good things to come at the club. Let's go through the stats from today's game. Possession, Wolves had 42% to Tottenham's 58%. Shots, Wolves had 17 to Tottenham's 6. Shots on target, Wolves had 4. Spurs only had 2. The lowest actually in a Premier League game under Ange Postecoglou so far. Corners, Wolves 11, Tottenham 3 and fouls Wolves 19, Spurs 15. Let's have a look at Tottenham's starting 11 today, and let's come to you on this, Johnny. The starting 11 was as follows: Vicario in goal, the back four of Porro, Dyer, Davis, Emerson, midfield of Højbjerg, Basuma and Sarr, and the forward line of Kulusevski, Heung-min Son and Johnson. The 9 subs today included a couple of academy players. We had Forster, Dorrington, Phillips, Skip, Bentancur, Lo Celso, Ryan Hill, Donnelly and Viles. Any surprises there for you, Johnny? Would this have been the starting 11 you would have went with?
It probably would have been the starting 11 I went with. I mean, very little options there at the moment because of the injuries we have. But the defenders that came in today played quite well. It's just at the end, I think they just took their eye off the ball, to pardon the pun. But actually, I thought they did okay. I didn't think Son had a great game, to be honest. I thought he was very quiet during the game, and he's the captain as well. I don't know. I'm not too sure he's captain quality, but that's just my view, my opinion. The other guys might disagree or agree, whatever. But I'm not too sure he's the captain quality really of the team we need at the moment. I think he was given that armband because it was maybe just to make him feel better with the manager coming in. I'm not too sure. I have a feeling that could be the case. I know you probably don't agree there, Chris. You're a bit surprised, but I have to be honest.
I agree with you, though. Yeah.
Oh, dear, yeah. I think he's a lovely guy and he's really great for the team, no doubt about it. But I'm not too sure he's captain quality. When I look at John Terry and people like that, I'm not saying every captain has to be like John Terry and all, but I just think they have different personalities. They're quite eager to get stuck into players when they're not pulling their weight. I don't think Son has the personality to do that. I think he's Mr. Nice Guy, and that's a good quality. But you have to be Mr. Bad Guy too sometimes. And you also have to keep your colleagues on their toes, and I'm not convinced he's doing that. But to get back to the team lineup, Gary, glad I made you happy today, Gary. But to get back to the team lineup, I thought Højbjerg played okay, and Basuma got a yellow card. Probably again, it's trying not to get a yellow card, because as long as the game goes on, you're more than if you go in for another tackle or you take somebody down or pull their shirt, you're going to get into trouble and you could be taken off. Son is an excellent captain. Come on, says Enrique in a super chat. Look, I mean that's the whole thing about this show. You know, we're not always going to agree with each other, and if the majority of Spurs fans think he's a great captain, then he's a great captain, and I'm wrong. But look, it's just my feeling about the guy. That's all, and there's nothing personal against him. I think he's a fantastic player. I love him at the club, and he's brilliant. But just I'm not too sure he's that kind of captain quality. But look, we'll see what happens over the course of the season. I thought the team that went out, Chris, was the best team we could put out there, and it was okay up until around 87, 90th minute, and then it just went pear-shaped. So look, you know, they did their best, but yeah, that Johnson guy is great. I think he's brilliant. Yeah. He's the future of the club. He has potential to get really good, like a Dwight York or whatever. You know, he has that potential to be like that, and he's young, and he has a good coach, and I'm sure that coach will bring him on, and so the future's bright for him. It's just that I suppose we looked at some of the defenders that came in, and it just reminds me of the past of maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago. And so we kind of moved when we have Maddison and Van de Ven and players like that. It's like the future. It's the now and the future, and it gives you the feel-good factor. And now that they're all injured, we're bringing back players that haven't played in quite a long time. Breen Gill and Lo Celso. You know, they're players that were under Antonio Conte and Mourinho. So. But the side today, look, they did okay. But he didn't play the way he normally plays. He didn't have the team playing the way he normally plays. Let's be honest about that. That was two shots on target, and the other team had 17. Like that statistic's kind of frightening, to be honest. That's not good enough. Like it should have been 15 shots on target and Wolves 17. So clearly he went in with a different strategy. So he went against what he believes. That's the first time I've seen him do that. So he, as I said at the beginning of the show, Chris, he doesn't fancy the players he has to implement the way he wants to play. So in the January transfer, we're going to have 3 or 4 players come in, and they're going to be mentally tough players. They're going to be guys who know how to get the job done. Because so let's not worry too much about this game. We have to stay positive and go on and beat. What the next game is Aston Villa, isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, it has to. At home, great. Okay, so we can, if we get a win there, happy days. We can move then into Manchester City and try and get a win there, or get a draw. But if that team, they just need to have a bit more confidence. They need to go into the attack mode. They need to keep doing what he's telling them to do, and I think we can get a victory. We just didn't do it against Wolves today, and they just got a bit of confidence at the end, and they were able to just edge it out.
Do you know what, Johnny? In reply to you about Heung-min Son, I think that we've seen Heung-min Son be a real leader in those opening 10 games. You know, forget this week, but the opening 10 games, we've seen Sonny be a real leader. And I tell you what, for me personally, I think that Ange Postecoglou, that definitely was the right decision. And I know Ricky does agree with me because we've spoken about this before. Ricky, let's come to you. On the starting 11, when Bentancur come on for the last third of the game, do you think it was right to bring him on as a sub, or should we have started him in that game?
No, I think it was right to bring him on as a sub. I think it would be panic stations if we would have started him. You know, he's come off a really long injury layoff. He's been doing well in training. He's building his fitness. He's building his minutes. So I think it was a more cautious approach to not start him. But I kind of totally understand that from a manager's point of view and a medical staff point of view. For him to get on at 60 minutes and to have the last half an hour, I think is positive. I think going into the next 2 weeks international break, it gives him another 2 weeks to kind of up his level, up his fitness, to get to know the system, to get to know what Ange wants from him. And you can see he's bursting to play. You can see he can't wait to be on the field. So I totally get why he done that. But he's going to be starting next game, Aston Villa. You know, we've got Basuma out. And to speak about Basuma a little bit, he has dropped off the last couple of weeks. You know, we haven't seen the way that he started the season and the way that the last 2 or 3 games have gone have not been the same Basuma. Well, he hasn't dictated play. He hasn't kind of put his flair on the game. He hasn't passed the same way. He hasn't tackled the same way. He's been a bit kind of withdrawn.
Booking was frustrating as well today, Ricky, wasn't it?
It was frustrating. It was frustrating because we knew, as soon as the commentator said it, you know, these are the players that are on yellows if they get a yellow. And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. But here we go. You know, it was going to happen. Yeah. And especially with Tottenham, all of our problems pile into one. Do you know what I mean? It's like they can't be spread out. It's just like straight away, here's all your problems. Now deal with it. Yeah, so Bentancur is going to start the next game. Do you know what I mean? We're going to have Højbjerg in the 6, Sarr and Bentancur. I would like to see maybe Kulu in the number 10 position, just because I think he could create chaos there, and I think he's got good vision on passing and could utilize that left foot, you know, and be dangerous in that area. But then it's like, do you chuck Brennan on the right? Who do you chuck on the left then? Is that Brian or is that Sonny that goes there and then you put Valise up front? Or, you know, so it's going to be a reshuffle, but, you know, I think that's what Ange is about. He loves a big problem. He knew that it wasn't going to be sunshine and roses the whole season. We've started fantastic. And we know as Tottenham fans, we can't have something nice for too long. No. You know, so this is the bump in the road. This is the bubble that's been burst. It's about those characters that Ange relies on to now step up. And it relies on those youth players that are in the squad now to see what they've got. And it's unfair pressure to put on them because we now need them. But this is what football's about. Like you've all said, it's about grabbing the opportunity, you know. Also, just to kind of go onto the captaincy a little bit, you know, this is what I'm saying about the leadership group. You know, you've got Sonny, who I believe leads the team with strength, integrity, shows his determination, is always there to be counted, is always there to take responsibility. Then you've got the cheeky chappy in Maddison who kind of can say something to your teammates that wouldn't, you know, that other teammates couldn't get away with saying because he does it with a cheeky smile. He does it with a little, come on, son, come on.
Like Gazza,
like a bit of a Gazza, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you've got the hard nut, which both Gaz and Johnny was talking about, in Kuti Romero, who we just had a discussion about being too aggressive, but then you're saying, you know, captain material, you need somebody like John Terry or a Roy Keane. But then we've just kind of We've just had this discussion about Couto Romero, but them as a leadership group, they cover all aspects. And we're missing 2 out of the 3 elements in that group. 2 out of the 3 elements that kick people up the backside, that get people going, that set the standard, that set the bar, that set the pace, all of these things. So there is the biggest kind of the glaring hole. But I think as a trio, they work tremendously. They cover all aspects. If Sonny says something to you and you don't want to hear it, then, all right and cool, Madders, you have a go, mate. And he'll do it in a nice, cheeky, chappy, jokey way to try and get the message through. If you still don't hear it, well, then you've got to go and speak to Cootie. Go speak to him, because he can't wait to slap you on the back of the neck. Do you know what I mean? And if you want to deal with him, then good luck. Do you know what I mean? So I think as a trio, they're a tremendous trio, but our trio has been cut down to 1. And also with Sonny, the amount of games that Harry Kane played where he was not in the game, or where he played far too deep, or he didn't score, or, he traditionally didn't score in August for many a season, but we allowed him because we knew that the quality was there and we knew that the quality was coming. And I feel the same about Son. You can't just get on him for not popping a shot off. We've got to talk about who was feeding him, where, and when they did play him the ball, how many players, Wolves players today, were around him when he received the ball. So how could he wriggle out? How could he try and get a shot off when 2 or 3 players were always surrounding him? As soon as Sonny got the ball, Wolves rushed to him. Do you know what I mean? Because they know how dangerous he is on both feet. So when he's having a quiet game, I can kind of give him credit. And I go back to those memories where, Kane was one of our own. We know how world-class he is. Every other supporter wants to say how world-class he is now because he's playing for Bayern. And right. So when he's not got a Tottenham shirt on, we can praise him and we can see what he does off the ball as well as on the ball. You know what I mean? Even the games that Kane don't score now for Bayern, they're like, yeah, but he had a great game because he dropped deep and he allowed Sane to come in. Right? You got to remember how the media, and I don't want to get on them too tough, but we know it as Tottenham fans.
Yeah,
we never get credit.
Because I got banned off Twitter with him.
Right, so we never get the credit that we deserve when we deserve it. It has to be shoved down their throats to get it. So with Sonny, if he has a quiet game or if he's not getting the service, I go back to those memories about Harry Kane when he wasn't even in the game, when we would be on this podcast and Gal, you'd be like, well, where was he today? Did he turn up? Did he want to play? Like, what happened today? He didn't even get a shot off. He wasn't there in the box in the corner.
Well, Ricky, you're right. It's the classic, where was Kane in all them finals? People have been saying it for years, isn't it?
Right?
You're spot on. Yeah.
So that's where I back Sonny in the quiet time. Sorry, Chris.
No. Do you know what, Ricky? It's exactly where I was going to go, and I completely agree with your points there, because a number of people in the stadium around me were slating Son, really, saying that he hadn't done anything. He'd been on the floor. He'd not really done anything in the game.
No service.
And I said, well, where's the service?
No
you take
service.
a player like James Maddison out of this team, you're losing that service.
But where is the service going to be? Where is the service going to be up until after Christmas? Who's going to be providing that service?
That's why I want Kulu there. But that's my solution. You know what I mean?
Do you know what, Johnny? When we go through the match instance, I know we're nearly an hour in and we've not even gone through the first minute yet. But when we do, there are a number of instances where Heung-min Son looked really, really frustrated. He's in the middle of the pitch. Would have a very simple tap-in if he got a decent delivery from Kulusevski.
Yeah, he was making runs and stuff.
Or Brennan Johnson. I know you've all said how well Brennan Johnson played today. I thought he had an average game. I thought he could have done a lot better. And if I'm honest, I think that his decision-making should have been a lot better, putting those balls into Heung-min Son today. It's amazing how someone has a quiet game and they don't score a goal, and then a lot of people then get on that player's back saying, oh, they've been terrible today. I just don't see it that way. Do you, Gary?
No. Yeah. No, I agree. I think also what you've got to take into account, like today, when you look at them stats, you can see, let's be honest, when we play Villa and when we play Man City, it's going to be a very, very different game. Let's not forget, we're at Wolves. They're playing with back 4, back 5. They knew exactly what they were going to do. They're going to sit deep. They're going to frustrate us. It was a miracle, really, that we got a goal. Let's be honest. That early goal was an absolute miracle. But I'll touch on what Ricky said about Kulu, because for me, I think Kulu's been amazing this season. And I think even today, as poor as that team was, I thought Kulu looked really, really good. And obviously for the goal, you saw the back heel. But I think his technical ability with the ball, I think he is someone, like what Ricky said, if you moved him, you could get even more of a tune out of him because he's amazing. But I think when you look at that game today and you look at the possession, we had a lot more possession, but Wolves are looking at that. They're not stupid. They're seeing we've got the spine of our team out, and they're thinking, okay, let them play the ball around because you've got the likes of Højbjerg in there and Dyer and everything else and Davis. It's going to be sideways and backward passes. Let's put 2 or 3 men on Son. There's no one really to give him, the balls that he needs today, and we might be able to nick a draw or win. Now, as the game unfolded, because we got that early goal, it actually looked like we may come away with a win. But if you just forget about that early goal we scored and you look at that game for the whole 97 minutes, what it was, Wolves played exactly how they wanted to because of the team that we out. Ultimately, they deserved the win because when we play Aston Villa next week at home and then in a couple of weeks and then we play Man City, it's going to be a totally different game. Even though our team and our squad is depleted and stuff like that, there's going to be a lot more chances. There's going to be a lot more opportunities. There's going to be a lot more back and forth. With that sort of game today, when you go to Wolves, 1, we've got a depleted team, and 2, they're putting everyone behind the ball. I mean, there was times when the ball was going up to Son, and there was like 5, 6 players around him. It was ridiculous. We're not going to break that team down. And honestly, in a weird sort of way, I kind of wish we didn't get that early goal because it gave you that almost that false hope that we might go on and get something. And when ultimately, when you look at the stats, and Johnny mentioned it earlier, you look at the shots on target and you look at the possessions, Wolves knew exactly what they were going to do, and they done it. The final result came slightly different to, I think, how probably Wolves and us thought it would. But ultimately, it was what it was, unfortunately. So,
Gary, I just want to ask you, we're going to get onto the match instance now, but last question before we do. Under Ange Postecoglou, are we finally going to lose this Spursy tag?
I think to a certain...
Guys, he's back.
Oh, whew.
We can't hear you guys. We can't hear you guys. We can't hear you.
I wish I could say that I muted him, but I didn't. Johnny, perhaps you'd like to take that question.
I think we are. I think we are going to do it. We're going to get to a final. We are going to get to a final of something. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be an emotional experience. I believe so. And anything could happen in the final. With us, anything could happen. But I think we're going to lose the Spursy tag. Yeah, I think we've already been losing it, Chris. In the first 8 games, like that tag hasn't been there. Like we've been railroading teams and just winning in the last minute, and we'll continue to do that under this manager. I think, look, it's just because of the injuries we got and the disappointing result at Chelsea. A lot of things, as Ricky said, happened in that game, and it affected our outcome for this game. So I think if we can manage up until Christmas, there's going to be a lot of games over the festive period. If we can get through those games and try and get draws and wins, I think once January comes, the transfer window will open. We'll get some new players in. Maddison will be back. And we'll have Romero back in a couple of games. And I think we've already been losing the tag. Today looked a little bit like the Spurs of old, but look, these things happen. It may be just a one-off. Wolves are a good side, guys. You know that. There's no teams now in the Premier. Remember, if we go to Turf Moor on a Monday night at 8:00, that's going to be another game like this. They're going to be putting everyone behind the ball and trying to get us on a counter-attack goal to win 1-0. So we're going to come up against teams like Wolves that are going to be tricky, and Everton will be pretty much the same. We're just going to have to just overcome these teams. But as we strengthen the side and we get some players back who've been injured, things will start getting back on track. But I think we've already lost the Spursy tag.
Can you hear me?
Are you back with us, Gary? Is it funny
did you notice when you asked me if we lost the Spursy tag, the sound completely went? It's typical Tottenham, right? But can I just say very quickly, Chris? I'll just jump into that very quickly. I think we've already lost that Spursy tag, if I'm honest with you. To go that start of the season the way that we did, and to get them wins against Man United and Liverpool, and to play the type of football that we have, I think it would be unfair to say we've gone Spursy now. If we still have that same team we started with, and we didn't have sending offs and injuries, and then it occurred to the Chelsea game and then Wolves today, I would say yes, we're Spursy. But obviously rival fans, you're going to get Chelsea and Arsenal and Liverpool saying karma and it's gone back Spursy. But let's be honest about it. This is nothing like Spursy like we've had in the past. I mean, we've started the season 3 months in a row to get manager of the month. I know it's gone a bit pear-shaped with Chelsea and then today with Wolves. Chelsea was a real shocker for me. Very frustrating. It's a game. If 11 men stay on the pitch, we probably win that 3 or 4-0. But I was very confident against Chelsea until everything unfolded. Today, I wasn't confident, and I thought we would probably at best get a draw, but I thought we would lose. Heartbreaking the way we lost it, but ultimately I still thought it would be the same result in the end, just because of the players that we've got. So for me, yes, I'm frustrated and a little bit annoyed we lost today, but the Spursy tag is gone now for me. It's completely gone. And I think Woolwich hold that record for blowing the league last season anyway. So, they're Arsey more than we're Spursy. So that's done.
Well, before we talk about Tottenham's goal in the 3rd minute, I just want to ask you all a question. Who's your man of the match today? And after Tottenham's good start in the first 10 games, because we are nearly a third in now of this Premier League season, after our good start, what's the minimum league position that you would be happy with? Gary, let's start with you.
Who I thought man of the match today was? For me, I'd probably go for Kulu. I thought Kulusevski was really good. He looks really bright. I love his running. I like his technical ability. I love the way he cuts in and cuts out. For me, Kulu by a long way. And I think, for me, Kulu has been, one of my players of the season so far. Yes, Vicario, that's why I got the shirt, because I'm never really a fan of goalkeepers and stuff. But for me, Vicario has been amazing. But I would say outfield players, Kulu. And position-wise, I still feel if Tottenham can get back into Europe and get a top 6 position and really go for the FA Cup and try and get to the final FA Cup and win it, for me, that would be an amazing season. I have to be honest with you. I wasn't getting carried away with, we're going to win the league or we're going to win top 4. It's very, very early on. I think with injuries and suspensions, everything that happens and VAR, you've got to bring VAR and the refs into this as well, because, they make a massive difference on games. We've seen, not just with Tottenham, but you can see how a game changed with Man United and Liverpool with VAR decisions and stuff, right, with handballs. So for me, we get in the top 6, we just avoid the Europa Conference, and we go all out and get to the FA Cup final and try and go one better and win it. And for me, that would be an amazing season, and it would definitely 100% get rid of the Spursy tag.
Ricky, what about you?
For me, top 5, really. I think we have to be in that top 5 spot. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy, especially where we've been compounded with every problem all at once. But I still think that there's a difference in this side for them to do that and to make it happen. Man of the match for me is tough. For me, I love Kulu, by the way, and I think that he would have had a lot more assists and goals if Richarlison could have put away the chances that Kulu put on a plate for him. And this is against Luton. And do you know what I mean? Like, there was a couple of games there where he put the ball on the sixpence for him and it just wasn't finished enough. So I think his stats would have been a lot higher if it was for that. So I have loved Kulu. I love his battling style. I love his running. I love his dribbling. I love that he's very never say die type of player. But I loved Porro today. I thought Porro was fantastic. Yeah. I think it would have been between Porro and Davies. I thought Davies done well to come in and play at left centre back in a back 2. He blocked a lot. He was there. He was the last man. He kind of got a couple of shots off the line. Not so much off the line, but close enough to the line. But I loved the determination, the running, the battling of Pedro Porro today.
Johnny, what about you?
Yeah, Kulusevski, I thought all the defenders that came in today did quite well. I thought, like, Emerson Royale was okay. Like, he had an okay game. But Pedro Porro, for me, I think if it came down to it, I'd pick him. I thought he had a very good game. The defenders that are there are actually okay that came in. They had a very good game. They really lifted their level. And they'll have to do that over the coming weeks while some of the other players are injured. In terms of where to finish, it has to be top 4. It has to be considering the start we've had. with 8 victories, 2 draws and 2 losses, I think it has to be top 4. Third or fourth, I think, would be pretty good. To win or to come second would be amazing. Can't see that happening just because the squad the strength and depth isn't there in the squad. If it was, then I'd be more confident of finishing first or second. But I think third or fourth would be a really good ending to the season and a bit of silverware as well.
Yeah, I think for me, our league position obviously last year, under various different managers last year, with Ange Postecoglou coming in, and the start that we've had, I think it's got to be a minimum now of top 4. And Ange has probably put a lot of pressure on himself by, playing super entertaining football, being unbeaten, sitting top of the league, those opening 10 games. And for me, the man of the match today, I would probably go with Ben Davies. I thought he was excellent. Gary, let's come to you. Match incidents. Let's go straight into Tottenham's goal in the 3rd minute. Brilliant build-up play. Of course, Brennan Johnson tapped home for his first Spurs goal. He actually done the James Maddison celebration, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. Heung-min Son looked absolutely over the moon when Brennan Johnson scored. It was the perfect start for Tottenham, wasn't it?
It was the perfect start, but I don't know, because I'm an old school Tottenham fan, or whether it's just me, but I was really happy when we scored. But my first thought was, it's too early. I don't know.
I'm with you.
Yeah, and I know it sounds bonkers because you want to go ahead in a game and you want to build on that. But I just thought with the team that we had out, and because we was away from home, very different if we were at home. But because we was away from home with the team we had out, I thought we've just scored too early. And then I thought they're going to pile the pressure on now. It's going to get really difficult for us. And it did. But listen, I'm really happy with Johnson. I think he looks good. I think we've got a good player there. Yes, he's young. It's going to take a bit of time and stuff. But, look, he's come in. He did score a great goal against Sheffield United. It was disallowed. But I can remember when he took that down and scored it. It was amazing. And I thought for him to come in today, start the game and get a goal, really good on him. But for me, it was just too soon. I was just like, I don't know what you were like, Chris, all the fans in the stadium. Obviously, you're going to celebrate a goal. But the first thing I'm thinking is 3 minutes in. This game could go on for 100 minutes nowadays, at least. And as we saw in the end, it was the bloody 97th minute. I mean, I don't even know if it should have gone on that long. But unfortunately, it did. Another day, we don't moan if we win it. But, it is what it is, isn't it? So, yeah.
You're right there. 6 minutes actually went up on the board at the end, and then of course they scored in the 97th minute. Rick, let's come to you. Of course, Spurs have 1-0 up very early on, as we just mentioned. After 10 minutes, Wolves were on the attack. Ben Davies made an exceptional block. Ben Davies is one of those players, certainly under various different managers, right from Pochettino right through to Postecoglou now. Postecoglou said a couple of weeks ago that Ben Davies is one of those players that trains the hardest in training. He's one of those players that a lot of fans, including a lot of Spurs fans, have probably slated in the last couple of years. Is it unfair on a player like Ben Davies? Because he does seem to be the ultimate professional when it comes to, if you're playing, if you're starting, if you're a sub, if you're not in the squad, it always comes in and just does that job. I know a lot of people call him 6 out of 10 Ben, but you always get that consistent performance from him.
You always get a consistent performance from him, and he's one that can be relied on. And I think that the one thing that every manager has seen while he's been at the club is his character. That character that Ange loves? He has that character. He don't mind stepping up. He's not a moaner. If you remember from the Spurs documentary, I remember them talking about transfer window, and I think it was Ben Davies that was sitting in the lunchroom table, and at the lunchroom table, and he was like, I don't know why people are so obsessed with buying new players. What about developing players? So to me, even though we all love to buy new players, but to me, it showed me his mentality in the sense that, wherever we are right now, this is not where we're going to end up. Like, let's develop, let's train, let's go, and let's improve game in, game out. And, any time that he has been called upon, he's been there and he's been reliable. When we went to a back three and we didn't have a left centre back, he came in at a back three, and I thought he done better than Longley when he was there. Always puts bags of effort in, always put bags of energy in, puts his body on the line. He's never going to be Mickey van der Ven, but he definitely put in a shift for us, and he was definitely super professional. And I understand why so many managers kind of have got love for Ben Davies. I think sometimes, like us as fans, we know that we could do better in that position, ability-wise. But you always need a player in the squad that whenever he's called upon, he's there for the mission. He's there for the war. He's there to kind of put himself out there for the team. And he's one of those players. And I love players that love Tottenham. Do you know what I mean? I love players that love the shirt, that love going out there and putting everything on the field. And he is one of those players that does that many a time. And sometimes his performances are not a 9 out of 10, but you always see that he never shirks away from responsibility. He never shirks away from being there and being the last man or putting his head on the line or putting his heart on the line. So I really do appreciate that from Ben Davies. But obviously, we all know that ideally you'd want somebody else in there who is a little bit quicker, a little bit stronger, a little bit taller. You know, somebody who's used to playing a centre-back, left-sided centre-back role. But I think he done tremendous for us today. He, you know, not only that block, putting his head on the line there, but the blocks and the tackles and his positioning. You know, I when I looked at it, I kind of thought, well, I mean, and this might sound weird as well, but I kind of thought, well, Emerson Royale could go right centre-back, Dyer could go left centre-back, and then you put Davies at left-back just to give it that little bit of a balance. But I totally get why they done what they done. You know, Royale has got bags of energy as well. You know, he's one of the fittest in the squad. So I understand why you'd put him on the wing to kind of counterbalance all their tricky wingers and the pace that they've got on that side. But yeah, no, I've got a lot of kind of time for Ben Davies, and he's been there for a long time, and you know, always gives everything. Never moans, never complains, just gets on with it. And when the manager needs him, when the team needs him, he's always been there.
Ricky, I asked on this podcast a month or 6 weeks ago, and I asked a number of guests, and you might have been on the show, and I said, if we ever had injuries to the likes of Romero or Van der Ven or suspensions, who would next be in line? And every single panellist said Ashley Phillips will be next in line, not Eric Dyer. Ben Davies wasn't even in the conversation. Are you surprised that Ashley Phillips didn't get a chance today?
I think, no, I'm not surprised, because I think that in this scenario, I think Ange went for experience over ability today. And I think, especially after the Chelsea game, you need players in there with experience. You need players in there that know how to handle what's going to be thrown at them. I think that Ashley Phillips and Dorrington, who I think has been absolutely outstanding for the young ones, I think he would have liked us to be 3-0 up today and then brought them on to give them some time to kind of get used to it. They're both very young players, you know, so to put the world on their shoulders and kind of and to expect them to kind of play out of their skin or to be an ever ready replacement for someone like Romero or Mickey Van der Ven is a tough ask. Yeah. But I think we will definitely see Ash Phillips and Dorrington come into the side little bit by little bit. But I think he went for experience over ability today.
Yeah, I get your point over experience. I just think of the speed. And I think that in certain games that Ashley Phillips might be called on purely for the speed. Johnny, let's come to you. In the 14th minute, I wrote down on the notes that Højbjerg made a fantastic pass to Kulusevski, another player who really has been outed by Ange Postecoglou. Of course, he started today's game. Another player who often gets frustrated about not passing the ball forward or being creative enough, but he made an excellent pass to Kulusevski, putting him off on the wing. Is Kulusevski a player that you think will be a Spurs player still beyond the January transfer window?
Oh, absolutely. And I hope he...
Kulusevski or Højbjerg, Chris?
Højbjerg.
Oh, Højbjerg, sorry, yeah.
I bloody hope Kulu is.
Yeah, me too.
I hope Højbjerg is actually. I was very impressed with him when they were playing Chelsea, even though we lost. I think it was 1-1 at that stage, and he hit the ball over the bar, and he was like, oh, come on, giving like. So the fight is there, and it's the same with Davies. These guys, they love the club, and I think it's best having them there than not having them there. You can see the reaction from Højbjerg. I hope he is there in the January transfer. I actually like him as a player. I think he scores the odd goal as well from maybe 18 yards. Sometimes he shoots from distance. You need those type of opportunists, and I think I want to see him at the club. And if he stays at the club after January, I think that's great. But just getting back earlier to what you were saying, Chris, about the first that we scored early. I think it's great that we scored early, and I know Gary has different view and all that, but you ask Ronnie O'Sullivan in snooker, would you prefer to score the first frame? Or you ask Novak Djokovic, would you prefer to win the first set? I mean, it's the same in soccer. I want to score the first goal. But Ange Postecoglou in the press conference on Friday, he said to one of the female reporters who asked him a question about scoring the first goal, and he said, if we score the first goal, we got to push on and score the second goal. That's my mentality. They didn't do that today. They didn't push on and score that second goal. You've got to put Wolves to the death there, and you got to win 2-0 or 3-0, and that should be. That's the way he's been playing up to now, and I don't know why that didn't happen today. So you win that goal, they're under pressure, they're going to push players forward. You got to get the guy on the counter attack, and that's where you get Son in. But as you said, guys, there wasn't anyone to feed Son. You said that, Chris. So that is the worry. I think with Madison there or Mickey van de Ven, we would have won that game again. Yeah. It's just that we're depleted, lads. That's just it is. We'll just have to try and get through these games. But Davies and Højbjerg, I think they're great Spurs players. They're very good professionals. Davies doesn't moan on social media about everything, even if he's not playing. Højbjerg the same. They kind of just get on with it. But he hasn't been playing as much as he'd like to. But when he played against Chelsea, I thought his whole attitude was very good. So you need players in the team like that. So yeah, Højbjerg and Kulusevski, Chris, I want to see them there in January.
Gary, do you think Højbjerg will be there beyond the January transfer window? Because it seems like he is a player that does want to leave. He wants Champions League football. He wants to move on to a new challenge.
I think he probably will be, if I'm honest with you. I think come January, I'm not sure if anyone's going to come in for him. And I think over these certainly the last couple of games and then the next few games, I think he'll probably start getting a bit more game time. And, like what Ricky and Johnny said, fight for your place. He's got an opportunity now. So I think because he's going to be getting a lot more games and stuff, he'll look at that and think, well, I've proved myself a bit. Because I don't mind Højbjerg, I think he's a little bit like a Ben Davies. He's got a bit of a shot on him. He's not the best player technically and stuff, but sometimes he does throw out a good pass and he does get the odd goal. And, he does really love the team. He's a bit like, Davis and Skip and all these sort of players and stuff. So for me, I'm not overly nervous when Højbjerg's in the side. I know that might sound a bit, silly, but I don't mind Højbjerg. So for me, I would like him to still be there come January. He's a player that I would like to keep. And I think especially if we're going to, certainly go further forward in the FA Cup, and then you've got to take into account injuries and suspensions. So for me, I definitely think you need to keep Højbjerg. I don't think he's a starting player in our first 11, but I think he's a good player, like what Johnny touched on as well. Them sort of games where you are 1 or 2 up and you bring him on with the last 10, 15 minutes. I don't feel nervous with Højbjerg as opposed to when we used to bring on Winks or when we'd bring on Sanchez. I feel all right with Davis and Højbjerg. So for me, I'd like him to be there January and keep him 100%.
Ricky, let's come to you. As I mentioned, Spurs were on the attack in the 30th minute. Johnson crossed too close to the goalkeeper. Heung-min Son in such a good position. That is one of the ones that I mentioned. And Sonny looked quite frustrated by that because it was a good chance for Tottenham. 3 minutes later, Wolves had their first shot on target. Good save from Vicario. 4 minutes later, Vicario made another good save, but the offside flag went up. Ricky, I know we spoke about this at length the other day, but for the purpose of this podcast and this game today, Vicario, he's been a great signing for us. What have you made of him?
I am absolutely loving Big Vic in goal. I mean, if all of those doubts and apprehensions that we had about him coming in, I think have been erased, really. I mean, especially in that game against Chelsea, you could see what player we have signed here. Not only a fantastic shot stopper, reaction save, but that sweeper keeper, the fact that he came out so far off of his line to be another defender in that game. And, you know, and all the little niggles that we thought, well, me personally, that I thought would hurt us a little bit. One being the fact that when he does save, he parries more, you know, he parries back into the box. So you could get a follow-up. And we all remember that triple save that he had, you know, the clip of the triple save that he had from last season. And you're like, okay, it's a great triple save, but every single time he parried it back into danger. But he's been parrying away from danger. You know, I didn't see him catch many crosses in his highlight reel from last season, but he's been catching. So it's a big kind of indictment, and it's a big. There's big confidence with those. I think it's Rob Wells. I think is the goalkeeper coach. I think it is him. But
Rob Birch.
So Rob Birch, that's it, Rob Birch. But yeah, so they've identified those things and they've been working on those things. And I think, you know, coming from a different league into a new country, into an absolutely new team, you know, I think he's done tremendous and he's growing week in, week out. And I'm so happy with the purchase that we've made. I'm so happy that the Tottenham board who make these decisions on who to sign, they listened to their scouting team and their manager, Ange Postecoglou, instead of listening to us and kind of going, go get Raya, go spend that money, go get Raya. They made the right decision for the right player and in the right circumstance, because not only does he have ability, he has character. Whenever you hear Ange speak about Vic, it's about his character. It's about his want to win. It's about his kind of ability to put his head, hands, legs in dangerous positions to save the team, you know. And I think that this is just the beginning for Big Vic in goal. He does remind me, I don't know whether he does remind me, I don't know whether anybody used to watch Malcolm in the Middle, like back in the day. But if anybody remembers the youngest brother, where they used to put him on the hook on the back of the door, he does look like the grown-up version of the younger brother.
I'll have to Google it.
Google it. Have a look at the younger brother. I'm telling you.
I'll do a Danny Rose.
They do a Danny Rose, because I swear he looks like the grown-up version of that. But you know what? He's determination, his will, his character, his ability, all of those things in these first 12 games have been fantastic to see. And, you know, if we were putting, and I love Hugo Lloris, but Hugo Lloris of last year, if we were putting him in the positions that Vic's been in this year, I think we would have conceded a lot more. I think we would have been in a lot more trouble, especially with the back passing, especially with the passing, you know, to the goalkeeper, back out of defence and that type of play. I remember screaming at the TV last year, don't pass back to Hugo, don't do it. Why are you doing it? Why are you continuing to do it? Why are we putting ourselves under this pressure? But when Big Vic gets it, I'm totally calm with it, because I know that he's got a picture in his head and that they've trained at this specific way of playing. And more times than not, he's going to make the right decision. So I've absolutely, you know, I'm so happy to be wrong, and I'm so happy that he's at the club, and I'm really intrigued and excited to see what's to come from him in not only this season, but in seasons to come.
Johnny, let's come to you. Just before half-time, Emerson Royale received a yellow card. And then in stoppage time, Wolves had a couple of chances. They headed one over the bar and then a tame header at Vicario. And then Basuma received a yellow card, his fifth yellow card of this Premier League campaign. He will now miss the Aston Villa game. I just wanted to get your opinion on Spurs receiving so many cards this season, because we are right up there alongside Wolves and Chelsea for the most yellow and red cards received this season. Do you think that Spurs are being too aggressive this season? You know, what have you made of the amount of yellow and red cards we've received?
I think that they're going out a bit wound up, and that probably is coming from the manager. They feel that in the training sessions during the week, and then it gets to match day, and they're going out probably over tackling, if you get my drift. And it seems to be like you saw with the Romero one. I mean, I know he does it on a regular basis. He does those type of tackles, but the players do seem to be going in for these tackles and being more aggressive. And the issue with getting a yellow card early in the game is that you're leaving yourself open in the second half to then get another yellow card and be sent off. And at the moment, with VAR, the way it's operating and the way the referees are getting very strict on these tackles, there's nowhere to hide. So if you do pull somebody by the back of the shirt, or you go in for a sliding tackle and you just leave the foot out for a brief second, it's over. And then you're putting the pressure back on the team, and it affects morale as well. If everybody's getting yellow cards, eventually someone's going to be sent off. So Basuma getting the yellow card, it was needless to do that today. He didn't need to get that. And I think it might be out of frustration as well. He hasn't been playing that well in the last few games. He had a great start, and I think it was looking good, but he's kind of gone off the boil. But just Emerson Royale, as we know, he's open to getting these type of things, or he's another type of player who can kind of go in with a tackle or two and just go in at the wrong time. So it's a little bit of a worry. It's a bit of a concern. I think it's great going out full of aggression and trying to win. But at the moment, the way the VAR is working, Chris, and the way the referees are monitoring everything, you have to be so careful now with every single tackle that you go in for. And our players, I think, are a little bit, some of them are being a little naive at the moment, the way they're picking up these yellow cards. And you don't want to be the team at the end of the season that's picked up so many more yellow cards. And I think there was a season a few years ago where we picked up loads of yellow cards. I don't remember the season it was, but we were picking up tons of them. And it does happen. But I think they're going out very aggressively, but that's because of what the manager is telling them to do. And that's fine. But you have to just be careful at the moment. But Basuma and Royale picking them up, I don't think is good. So Basuma misses the next game, is that right?
Villa, but probably better to be Villa than City, though, maybe. So
yeah, that's true. That's very true.
I'm gonna take some positives.
Gary, let's come to you because before the half-time whistle, Johnson was through on goal. He took a touch and he seemed to go towards the corner flag rather than towards the goal. Should he have shot earlier? Should he have shot first time?
He should have just gone for it, but maybe that's just confidence, and he's just starting out. He's not getting regular game time and stuff. We saw that a lot last season with Son, didn't we? He'd take an extra touch, his control wasn't just quite right and stuff. I know it was different with Son. He was carrying a bit of an injury, but it's a confidence thing as well. I think that Johnson getting that early goal and stuff, it will help against the next game for Villa and moving forward to City. I'm not doom and gloom with today, but I do feel if we'd have got that second goal, I think we would have won the game. But, we had to get that second goal. And it's all ifs and buts. It wasn't a terrible performance from Tottenham because Wolves weren't particularly good either. But it was a snatch and grab. And I think if we get that second goal, we do go on and win the game, Chris. Yes, you can be a bit frustrated, with Basuma getting that booking and Emerson Royale sliding in. And, I think Lascelles had a bit of a chance and Son as well. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? I mean, I think we're going to be here a lot more for the rest of the season. It's not just going to be players not taking chances. We're going to feel hard done by with VAR and the referee. I mean, today, for example, I don't know how we went so long without a Wolves player getting booked. It was so frustrating. And it was a similar thing when we played Chelsea. I was like, how is a Wolves player not been booked in this game yet? And then, hold and behold, there's 2 Tottenham bookings before a Wolves player.
Gary, that's exactly where I was going to go next. Tim Robinson, the referee. What do you make of his performance? Because I'll tell you what, the Spurs fans, all game, the whole of the 90 minutes, were moaning about the referee because some of the decisions,
terrible,
it was a foul, and I don't know what he was watching, but what do you make
Chris,
of the referee
honestly, I'm not just saying this because we lost the game the way we lost it or the fashion we lost it. But in particular, I don't know if you saw it because you was at the game, but that foul on Porro on his back heel with the studs, I don't know how that is in the booking. And there was a bit of dissent back on the ref on another tackle, and he was moaning at him and some of the Wolves players. And I was watching that game, and it was so frustrating because it felt a little bit similar to the Chelsea game. Now, you know, I could be a little bit cynical and say, "Oh, we're getting our just desserts because of Liverpool." Because I feel after what happened against Liverpool and with Klopp crying so much and stuff, it just seems like, you know, we're getting it back really badly. But going back to that Wolves game, how on earth a Wolves player did not get booked in that game before a Tottenham player, I do not know. Honestly, it was very frustrating. But I don't want to be sour grapes and be, you know, I'm not saying by any means that's why we lost the game, because we lost the game. It's our own fault we lost the game. But certainly there should have been some bookings for some Wolves players. And I'm all for the ref letting the game flow and stuff like that. But he was blowing and giving fouls, but just not booking any Wolves players, which seemed really odd. And it was a similar thing against Chelsea, though, you know, when I think Reece James jumped up. And I don't even think he got a booking for that slight elbow arm. I mean, that should have at least been a yellow, you know. But look, other supporters are just going to say I'm being a typical Tottenham fan and moaning and complaining. But I like to think I'm pretty open-minded and I'll look at a game for what it is. And I think a few Wolves players should have been booked first. I think they did get a booking near the end of the game, but it took a good hour or so, didn't it? So, yeah, frustrating, but what can you do?
Ricky, let's talk about the second half. Of course, we went in 1-0 up at half-time. In the 46th minute, they had a shot over the bar from 20 yards. A foul on Heung-min Son in the 51st minute. I thought that was definitely a free kick, but the referee dismissed that one yet again. A minute later, Johnson crossed. Son looked frustrated by the lack of the quality of the cross. That's when I really noticed it, that Heung-min Son actually did look frustrated by the service or the lack of service he was receiving. How are you feeling at that point? Because straight after that chance, there was a lot of pressure from Wolves. It was a very different Wolves set up in that second half. They had a number of opportunities. How are you feeling at that point?
Frustrated, mate. Frustrated. And I think that the boys were frustrated. I think there was a couple of fouls on Sonny that could have, like Gary, just to jump on what Gary was saying there, that could have been yellows by themselves, but they wasn't even counted as fouls. The game continued. Do you know what I mean? The game didn't even stop. Do you know what I mean? It carried on and they counter-pressed us and we allowed them into the game. and those things, I think, might have started to get into our head. Also, to just jump on what Gary was saying there, you know, Sterling blatantly dove twice in that Chelsea game. And he could have got two yellows. He could have got 2 yellows for each dive, but he didn't receive one. You know, Paulinho, when we played Fulham in the league, kicked Maddison to bits, kicked him up in the air, left, right, and centre. I don't even know whether he got a yellow card at the end of it, but if he did, it was towards the end of the game. Exactly, right? And he was kicking us up in the air. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, we're always going to have complaints with referees. Not every decision. We don't expect every decision to go our way, but when they're blatantly obvious, we at least want our free kick, or we at least want, do you know what I mean, some justification for the foul that's been put upon us. So, yeah, I mean, in today's game, we allowed Wolves to kind of grow and grow and grow. And, you know, they had opportunities in that second half to score loads earlier, but we done well to kind of hold them off. But it was frustrating, mate. It was frustrating at that middle period of the second half. It was very frustrating because you could see what was happening. And on Johnson as well, you know, yes, he can play on the left side, but remember that he's a right-sided player. You know, somebody who could play, normally plays on the right side, or number 10, number 9. Do you know what I mean? Can play on the left, and I think he's done great on the left. But his preferred position, and this has been the argument for Richarlison for I don't know how long, his preferred position is number 9, Richarlison. Well, when he was in number 9, we didn't see much. Do you know what I mean? And then when he's on the left wing, oh yeah, well maybe Richarlison can be on the left wing, and it takes the pressure off. So all I'm saying is, like, let's just keep the same energy in the sense that Johnson's not playing on his preferred position as well. So there are going to be crosses that go slightly over. Kulu is different. Kulu is mostly a left-footed player that plays on the right, but has always done that. Do you know what I mean? He always knows. So cutting in and dribbling round and creating confusion with that left foot on the right side, he's done that the majority of his career. So, you know, we've got to kind of take these little things into account. And now that we've lost the game, you know, those little things become bigger things. And it's just to kind of just have a little reminder. Yes, okay, we could have got more. We could have got a better cross out of him. We could have got a better shot out of him. But let's just remember that the left side is not his natural side. And, he's still very young. So he's learning the Postecoglou way. He's learning what it's like to be in a Tottenham side. And he's been very unlucky. When he came to us, he came with a little bit of an injury, so didn't get to start. When he has started, he's had to been taken off for injury or whatever the case may be. And then, even against Chelsea, when we went down to 10, he was the one that was sacrificed. So he has been very unlucky. He hasn't really got up and running as yet. But I think you can see the positive strands in his game and what he can bring to this side. So let's still back him. Let's trust the management to kind of get the best out of him. And fingers crossed, like we see it in a Spurs shirt.
Johnny, let's come to you. In the 53rd minute, Wolves had a shot. It went over just by a couple of inches. A couple of minutes later, they had another chance. Shot deflected through to Wang, who hit it first time, but he missed the target. 3 minutes later, so we're now in the 56th minute, Spurs had a break through Kulusevski. Johnson and Sarr were running into the box, were in really, really good positions. All it needed, really, was Kulusevski to deliver the perfect ball for either Johnson or Sarr. He kept it. He shot himself. It was then eventually blocked. This is exactly what I meant earlier on the show, where Johnson, Kulusevski, they had chances to deliver the perfect ball. Surely some of the decision-making from the wings, especially in those positions, have to be better.
It does. And, you learn these things in training and then you try and bring it onto the pitch. And it's when you do it on the game day, that's once you do it, you get better at it. And when you're in that position and you're running into an attacking position and you're maybe 18, 15 yards from you've got to find the right pass. You got to be, when you're young and you're learning to play football, the coaches always tell you, keep your head up, look around, see who's there. And that's what they have to do, and have to look around for the right pass. If it's not there, you've got to take a shot on target and hope it comes out for a rebound and someone can put it away. Well, we were 1-0 up, Chris. We should be going 2-0 up, and then maybe winning the game 2-1. Now, I understand on the 94th minute they might get a goal back. That's fair enough. It happens because they're trying to get back into the game. But it wasn't the Postecoglou way today. Either the players weren't able to deliver what he was asking them to do, or he changed his tactics. So it's either that. But, when you're in a 1-0 position, you have to go and win 2-0 because the other team are under pressure. They have to get back into the game and you have them by the throat, and you really need to do that. So it didn't happen today, but I think it will happen against Aston Villa. I think we'll go 1-0 up and we have to then go 2-0 up. Aston Villa will cave. They'll come back in the second half, but we have to get a good lead against them in the first half. And even as Gary said, look, even if it's 0-0 at half time, there's still a chance. We're at home. We'll have a huge fan base cheering them on, and that will help. We were away today in a very kind of aggressive environment, and you could see that when it went 1-1. I was going to go, oh boy, you could hear the roars on my TV screen. I was going, oh, here we go. This is one of these moments. If we can hold on here. But it's probably just they're learning this new way of playing. And as Ricky said earlier on, it's going to take a little while. There's players coming in today who had to kind of prove themselves, and they're probably not used to that style of play because they've been told. Imagine coming in. Imagine being managed by 3 or 4 different managers, and each one that comes in is a different style of play, or and they're telling you to do different things. You have to adapt so much. You have to it must be like, and then all of a sudden you're told attack. And you go, what's this guy? I've never done this before. We've always told get 1-0 lead and park the bus. But now they're having to play a totally different style. And it must be nice, though, as a player, to play with that kind of freedom and go forward. But I have a very good friend of mine, Gavin, if you're listening in. I know he's a big Celtic fan. And Gavin is very excited about Ange Postecoglou at Spurs. He wishes he was still back at Celtic. But he said that if Ange goes 1-0 up, it'll always be 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. It'll keep going. And so he was surprised. He texted me today. He was surprised when he heard 1-0. He said, "Here we go." He was texting me, "Oh, Spurs are going to win this 5-1 or something like this." I was thinking, "This is great," Then all of a sudden, oh man, we lose the game, So, and it was again against Chelsea. Went 1-0 up, looked like it was 2-0. There was a great movement, about 20 shots. Remember the ball going all the way from the goalkeeper all the way up the pitch, and Son scored. And I thought 2-0, yeah, and then it was offside. But that's
millimeters.
Yeah, I know. But look, they have to continue that way. Keep going the way he wants you to play. Keep that attacking style going. We'll beat Aston Villa, and then we'll get a positive result against Manchester City. And then we're sort of into December, and you never know what might happen there. Some players may come back earlier from being injured. You never know. Maddison might come back earlier. We'll just stay positive.
Do you know what? Just to jump on that as well, I think one of the biggest things in seasons gone by is us breaking down a low block. We've always found that it's been really tough to kind of
struggle.
Get that lock picker that can create chaos for the opposition defense, but to kind of get behind. So we've lost the person that has changed everything, Maddison. In that instance, we have lost him, and I think that this is what we're seeing without him. That against the back three, who's going to find that through pass? Who's going to get that delivery right? Who's going to be the one that kind of breaks down that low block or the way that they kind of bunch up around Sonny? Who's going to be the free man that kind of run round or gives an option out? That's why for me, I would like Kulu to be in there at least, because he's a bit of a risk taker. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. A bit, not anywhere near Maddison, but he's a risk taker. And I think that he could thrive in that position there. And almost when we go up against another low block or against the back three, that he could be the one that actually sees the pass or becomes that lock picker. Do you know what I mean? In the absence of Maddison. So I think that's something that definitely we have to take into account. That seasons gone by, that's been one of our biggest problems. And without Maddison, who has changed the way that we play and the way that we look as a side, it's going to be difficult. So we definitely need more solutions in that area.
Well, in the 63rd minute, Sarr went off, Bentancur come on. 10 minutes later, another break by Spurs. Højbjerg crossing to Johnson. Great chance, but hit wide. Gary, what did you make of that chance? Surely Johnson, I know you guys have said that he's a young player and he's developing, etc., but surely you've got to be doing better there.
You do, but I just think, he's coming into a team that's a half sort of kind of team that we would be using. You're away from home, you're at Wolves. I don't want to make excuses for the players because I was the one that started this podcast really angry and annoyed with them. But as the podcast goes on, Chris, I'm kind of looking at it and I'm looking at the game today and I'm thinking, okay, we've lost to Chelsea. We was down to 9 men. We've lost to Wolves, in the last few minutes. We haven't been embarrassed yet, okay? Let's be honest about it. Teams of old, we've taken some hammerings and batterings. We're very, very unlucky against Chelsea. I think if Son's goal goes in, it's a totally different game. We got frustrated because, like Ricky said, and we touched on earlier, Sterling should have already been booked for a dive. Things weren't really going our way. I'm not making excuses with this. I'm just looking at the Chelsea game and the Wolves game and the two defeats that we have had so far this season. And they've not been bad defeats. They've not been embarrassing. Yes, Chelsea was very, very hard to take, and also Wolves today in the manner that we lost in the end. But to be honest, Chris, we've been very unlucky. And I think even today, like the Chelsea game, if we get that second goal, I do genuinely think we're having a different conversation and we probably win both games. So it's not doom and gloom yet. I think with Johnson, there's a good player in there. Yes. He probably should have got that goal. Some of his decision-making, I think, today wasn't the best. But we are away at Wolves. They're playing a low block. And look, you go back to past games when we go up to Wolves and we go to Burnley and the likes of that and stuff. We've always struggled. They've always really been frustrating games. I can remember there was a game, I think, we nicked a 1-0 win right near the end. And then there was another time we nicked just a 2-1 right near the end. But it was very, very frustrating game, and there's been many times we've gone up there and lost 1-0. So I'm not too disheartened. I think, like what Johnny said, I think the Villa game, we're at home, and also, Villa and City will come at us. It's going to be fast attacking football both ends. There's going to be a lot more chances, a lot more opportunities. So, as silly as it may sound, we could walk away from the next 2 games winning both. And I know that sounds absolutely bonkers, Villa at home and City away. But honestly, Chris, I can remember, right? I remember this. I remember quite clearly when I was watching Sky Sports News and we had Man City away 2 years ago, and they already said that we had lost the game before the game had kicked off. And they were laughing and joking about it, right? They were openly laughing and joking about it because you were there. I was on the way to work on a Saturday night, and everything that happened in that game, you know, the Romero handball to bring it back to 2-2, it only looked like it was going to go one way. And then what happens? Kulu goes up the right-hand side, thinks the ball over, and Harry Kane gets the winner. Stranger things have happened, Chris. I think what we have to bear in mind is two things today. One, you know, it's West London Chelsea. We always lose our heads against them. And we were very unlucky in that game. And two, the Wolves game today, if we get that second goal, we walk away with a win. So let's try and keep positive. I don't know why I'm saying this because I was the most negative to start. But I do genuinely
You've gone full circle.
Against Villa at home and City away, you're going to see so many opportunities and so many more shots on goal. And maybe Johnson might grow into it. And I fancy him to get a goal against Villa. You know, why can't we beat Villa and Man City? You know, going by Tottenham, how Tottenham are, we would lose away to Wolves and then win at home to Villa and win away to City. So why not? You know, I don't think the manner we've lost these two games at the moment, Chris, we can just put our hands up and say, oh, we're Spursy. Because we was very unlucky against Chelsea and very unlucky against Wolves today. So I'm upset in the manner we lost today, but I'm still confident going forward.
Gary, let's stay with you. In the 77th minute, Ange Postecoglou made a double sub. Lo Celso and Brian Hill coming on for Basuma and Johnson. 3 minutes later, Wolves on the attack. Vicario saved their chance. 5 minutes later, they headed wide from a cross from the left. In the 88th minute, Lo Celso shot from 20 yards, Sarr saved. Now, with the added on time, Giovanni Lo Celso and Brian Hill ended up with 20 minutes each today. These are two players that need to grab their opportunity. They have been at the club for some time, under various different managers. Do you think that these two are going to get a real chance now under Ange Postecoglou, certainly with the injury suspensions that we have?
I think they will get a real chance. Do I think that they will do well with that? I don't know. I mean, Lo Celso, I saw something. He's played like 89 games or something. He's come on 89 times and stuff. He's had a lot of opportunities for Tottenham and he's not been great. Brian Gill, it started very good for him. I think it was his debut. It might have been a Europa game at the Tottenham Stadium and he came on and was so lively. And I think he hit the crossbar or the post. I was at that game and I thought, wow, what a player. But again, hasn't really kicked on. Goes down very easy. Lo Celso goes down very easy. You look, I don't. If I'm honest with you, I don't think it's gonna work for Brian Gill and Lo Celso. I was more a fan of Gill than what I was Lo Celso. But if I'm honest with you, I don't think either player is going to work for with Tottenham Hotspur. I hope I'm wrong, but my gut feeling, Chris, on both of them players, no, I just don't see it. I don't know about what you guys think. But for me personally, I just don't see much from either of them, if I'm honest, which is a real shame because I like Brian Gill in particular, but don't think it's going to happen for either. I don't know what you lot think, but that's what I think.
Ricky, feel free to mention Brian Hill and Lo Celso, but I was going to ask you about the two goals right at the end that we conceded. I was literally looking over to the fourth officials to see how many minutes he was putting up. Eventually, he put +6. The second he was putting his board up, that is when Wolves equalised to make it 1-1. And then, of course, as I said earlier, in the 97th minute, Wolves then win the game 2-1. Very disappointing because, of course, I felt that every single player should need to play and give their all until the very final whistle. And I just feel like that second goal, there was that lack of concentration with Wolves moving forward and then eventually putting that ball in. Frustrating, I tell you. The last couple of minutes, I'm walking away from that stadium, very frustrated not to even get a draw. What did you make of the two goals that we conceded, Rick?
Well, firstly, the Sarabia goal was a bit of magic. It was a bit of magic. The way that he controlled the ball, the way that it fell to him, the way that he volleyed it, you know, he hit it with some ferocity. So, okay. And like we've been saying throughout this podcast, you know, you could see them pushing and you could see them in the ascendancy and you could see the more chances that we gave them, the more confidence that they took from that and the more kind of the braver they got to keep moving forward. So you look, the Sarabia goal, bit of magic, fantastic goal, really. If if it was anybody else and it wasn't against us, we would call it and say it was a fantastic goal. The second one, the Lamina one, I think in extra time, and again, not to give the boys excuses, I'm just looking at the reason, right? I'm just looking at reasoning. That's all I'm looking at. Yeah. But I think that the Chelsea game, down to 9 men, run their socks off, ran into the ground. I think that had an effect on today's extra time going into it. And I think that they got tired. And I think that's where you lose concentration, is when you get tired. It's in those minutes. And the thing is that we haven't seen that this season. Every time that there's extra time, we go into another gear. We go into 5th gear and we go, okay, cool, let's go, let's keep going. But today we just didn't have that. And I think today that the petrol kind of run out in extra time, which allowed them, that lapse of concentration, which allowed them through, and it allowed Lamina to score. So that's what I'm looking at, And I also think that even though that we have all week, to prepare for games, I do think we miss those midweek cup games, those midweek, whether it be Carabao Cup or whether it be Europe. I think we do miss them. And yes, it's always tight with the training sessions and what you need to prepare for the next side. But there is a rhythm with us, and when you keep that rhythm up, our sharpness, our strength, our resistance to pick up injuries in the muscles are better, because we're continuing that rhythm. But you have the high of a game, and then you've got a day off, and then you've got the low, and then you've got to pick back up again, and you go again. And that's worked for us and our normal starting 11. But with this change upside, and with some of those that haven't got minutes and stuff like that, I think it's just taking it out of them. And especially with those players that have just come in. Davies came off of an injury, first start back, Emerson has had a couple of runs on that left-hand side. Dyer, first start, but he played, I don't know how many minutes on Monday. First opportunity he's had to have a game. So I do think that in those key positions, with those key players, I think the petrol ran out. And I think that, especially in the 96th, 97th minute, yes, Ange, the management team and everybody else would be like, keep your heads, keep in the game, stay concentrated, and they won't score. But I think it just got taken away from us. And especially with the Wolves crowd kind of baying for blood and up again with that equaliser. They were like, go, go, go. And we know what that's like being at White Hart Lane, when we've been in the same scenario, where we've pushed our side on to go.
Sheffield United.
So Sheffield United. Do you know what I mean? So we've done that, and we know what effect that we can have, especially at home, on the side, to continue to push, to continue to play, and to give that energy when you haven't got it no more. And I think that it's just what happened. Wolves crowd got behind them as soon as they scored. Their tails were up. Their energy was at their back. They found an extra 5-10% to sprint more, to pass more, to be a little bit quicker, and to go and get that winner. And do you know what? They deserved their winner. They deserved the goals that they scored. Like I said, they could have scored earlier. They deserved those goals that they scored. So, look,
they have a very good manager, guys. They have a very good manager they really do. I saw him in his post-match interview talking in the last game that they won, and he was talking to, might have been Sky Sports or Match of the Day, I can't remember, but the way he was talking about Hwang Key or whatever, it was very positive. The way he was talking about them, I could see, this guy, possible England manager, you just never know. Like, he has a good future, and I think they're very lucky to have him. Who knows when Ange eventually moves on from Spurs? He could be a nice replacement for us. He certainly has the talent and potential. So I'm not surprised they're fighting for him, because he has a good attitude. Look, it's just one of those games, guys. We move on to the next one, and hopefully we get a positive result in that.
And also on Gary O'Neill as well. He was in, I can't remember what game it was, but he was in the Sky Sports studios with Carragher when they broke down Tottenham and all of their dangers. And I know that the every single professional side has got these analysts that break down and find solutions to the problems that the opposition creates. But he did have like a full-on show and study on all of the good, the bad, and the ugly when it came down to Tottenham Hotspur, which I'm sure helped him visualize what was going to happen today.
It's not only that, Ricky. Matt Wells, who works with our attacking team, and of course, the defensive side as well. He used to work with Gary O'Neill at Bournemouth, so he knows him very well. Now, 3 other results in today's Premier League: Arsenal 3, Burnley 1, Crystal Palace 2, Everton 3, Manchester United 1, Luton 0. Spurs are now down to 3rd in the table, but as Johnny rightly said, the games are coming thick and fast. But it is the international break now. But next up will be Aston Villa. Now, let's start with you, Johnny. This Aston Villa game, they've played some great stuff under Emery this season. They've been a real force, and we've got 7 games in December coming up. Games really will be coming thick and fast in December. How are you feeling ahead of the Aston Villa game, particularly after the week that we've had?
God.
I think, like Gary and Ricky, when you come on after the game's just over and we've just lost the game, you're in an emotional state and you feel just very deflated, and you tend to say, as the 2 hours of this have gone on, and I've listened to everyone else, talking, and I'm sure people watching feel the same way. I'm accepting a defeat, and I understand Gary O'Neill's a very good manager. They're a good side, so there's no shame in losing to them. It's just maybe the manner of the last few minutes. We don't like losing like that. No. I'm feeling okay, Chris, about going into the Aston Villa game. I'm feeling okay. 2 weeks is a good break. Maybe some of those players that are injured can come back a bit quicker. And I feel it's at home, and we have it's like a cauldron at home. I think the people will really be up for it, and the fans. I imagine look. I'd love to be. I want to go over to see some of the games, but it's becoming very difficult to try and get tickets, because anytime I log on as a Hotspur Plus member, I'm there in the queue, and I'm looking for 4 tickets together, and I can't get them. So I want to go over and watch. So I do appreciate you and many of the season ticket holders and away supporters going all to these games. We really do appreciate it that you have that commitment. And I do want to get over from Dublin to go and see one. But I think we will beat Aston Villa. I know, look, I don't have a magic wand, but I just feel the philosophy of the team, the way he has them attacking, and they'll have another 2 weeks in training. I think we can take them out. They'll attack us. This could be a 4-3. I mean, this could be a lot of goals here, because they're going to be going for goals. And because of the way we play, if you score 1 goal, we'll score 2. You score 3, we'll score 4. That's the way he plays, and he's not going to stop that. And he won't allow them to go back into that way of playing today. I think that's going to be nipped in the bud pretty quickly in the match. I'd say he'll have a meeting on Monday morning, and he'll explain to the players in a positive way that, just put that behind you, forget about it, learn from it, let's move on. And as the guy said, if we get a draw or a win against Aston Villa, puts us in a nice position to go into the Manchester City game. That's away, is it?
Away.
The Etihad. Yeah. So again, look, we've beaten them at their ground, and we've beaten them at our ground. We can do it. They don't like playing us because of the way we play, and we'll continue. We'll be attacking them. We'll be getting them on the counter. They don't like it, so they'll be pushing forward, and then we'll get them on the counter. And Pep, as we know, he overthinks things too much, and he will be doing the same thing against Spurs. That's his weakness. He overthinks. He starts tinkering in things, and psychologically we can get him. But let's take one game at a time. I'm confident going in, Chris. I think we can take Aston Villa out. I think they're there for the taking. They're a good side, but I don't think they're going to put up the same kind of fight that Wolves did. I think once you get 1-0 up on Aston Villa, I think that's going to be curtains, especially at our ground. I think we should be able to go 2-0 up against them. But it depends. It just, you never know in Premier League football what's going to happen. It's like you just hope for the best. But look, the players that came in today in defence did very well. And I'm a bit more optimistic, having heard everyone talk here about the situation. So it's very easy to come on and say, "Oh God, we're going to lose." I did it. You might remember at the start, I said, "I think we're going to lose to Aston Villa." I suppose over the 2 hours I've changed my mind. So I'm not always right. None of us are always right. We do the best we can. We give the view we think. It may not be always correct, and maybe I was wrong about Son being not the captain I think he is. Maybe I was wrong, and I'm happy to put my hand up and say I'm wrong. But I think we'll take out Aston Villa, and then we'll think of a plan against Manchester City.
Gary, as I mentioned, Aston Villa's our next game. But when you look at the 7 fixtures in the Premier League during December, Manchester City away, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, Forest away, Everton at home, Brighton away, and Bournemouth at home. We used to playing one game a week, of course, no European football. It's going to be a very, very difficult December. And when you think that Van der Ven and Maddison are going to miss all of these games, Richarlison's expected to be back in the middle of December. Romero is suspended for the Aston Villa and City games. Udogie is back for the Villa game, but now Basuma is suspended for the Villa game.
Yeah.
And 8 difficult games coming up before the new year.
Yeah, I just have to remind myself, because next time to put Do Not Disturb on, because every time I've cut off, it's because someone's rang me. I've had about 7 phone calls, and then the sound cuts out. I've got to log out and log back on. So I can't do it while I'm in the middle of the show. But the next show I do not disturb. So frustrating. But listen, look, I'm a lot like what Johnny said. I'm not going to take too much into today because it's Wolves. 5 at the back. Can't break them down. Very difficult, very frustrating. I know when we play teams like Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, it's back and forth. 2 high-pressing, attacking teams. There's going to be loads of chances with Villa and Man City. It's going to look like a total. I think, going through them fixtures, I look at that and I think probably maybe the Forest game might be difficult, but I certainly think the Everton game, the City game, all these type of games, Villa, I think you're going to see
West Ham is going to be a tough one as well,
Yeah, honestly, there'll be so many opportunities and goals in that. And I generally do. I am disappointed with the way we lost today, but I'm not surprised. I do feel we'll beat Villa, and I do honestly genuinely think we can get something at City, only because of the way I know them teams will play. And look, like what Johnny and Ricky said, they're going to go in on Monday. Ange's going to speak to them and say, listen, lads, look, yes, they had 5 at the back. Yes, they're a low block inside, but you were 6 minutes away from winning that game. I mean, come on, boys, you need to do better. And I do feel when we're at home, we're a different kettle of fish. And I do feel Villa will be more front foot attacking. And I wouldn't be surprised if we beat Villa 2 or 3-0. I genuinely wouldn't. And I know no one's going to give us any hope in hell going up to Man City. They never do. But we might get something from there. I don't think, and this is not just Tottenham now, but Tottenham of last season, the season before. Just because we've gone to Wolves and lost does not mean we're going to go to Man City and lose. Now, law of averages would say, yes, it would. But it isn't, and it doesn't. So we still have to keep positive. We've got a couple of weeks now. Who knows? Maddison might come back by December. You just have to try and live with hope. What else can we do, Chris? You can't look at this defeat today and the one on Monday against Chelsea and say, well, that's the season over. You have to keep positive because whether you love them or hate them, that's our club. But I know Tottenham, and I've seen Tottenham for so many years, like all you guys have. And just because we've lost the way to Wolves in the last minute does not mean we're not going to turn Villa and City over. It really doesn't. So you have to keep the faith. Otherwise, what do you do? We got them for life. It is what it is, isn't it?
Ricky, when you see those fixtures in December, and of course we face Aston Villa next after the international break, and dare I say it, please, God, that we don't have any more injuries after players go off on internationals. When you look at those fixtures, those 8 fixtures until the new year, how are you feeling?
You know what, bro? This is what the Premiership is. The Premiership has always been tough. You never get an easy point in the Premiership. I don't care who you play. It's a tough period of time, but I think when we was winning, and in the same, like now that we've lost a couple, we've got to take it one game at a time. And I know it's an old cliche, but anything can change within one game of football, within 90/150 minutes of football. But, within a game, so many things can change. And, when we go up against Aston Villa, and that's all I'm looking at. I'm looking at Villa first, you know. So when we go up against Aston Villa, how do we approach that game? What solutions do we put on the field that kind of, for the problems that we encounter today? We've got Udogie that will come back against Villa. Fantastic news. All right, we missed out on Basuma, but then, okay, cool. Who else can slot in there? Does Bentancur come in? Does he start? He's going to want to prove some things. What happens with the up front? Where's Brennan Johnson going to play? Left, right? So let us go for the next game. Now, Aston Villa themselves are a dangerous side. The thing that gives them the most amount of danger is that they are another, and I say another because we are too, but they are another underdog, okay? They've got a lot to prove. Emery has got a lot to prove. You know, they've got Martinez, who's a World Cup winning goalkeeper in the goal. They've got Matty Cash, who is an energizer bunny. Konza, Pau Torres, who we was after for ages. So, you know, we all know about Pau Torres, as well as a good settled midfield, and Ollie Watkins up front, who can be dangerous in the flip of a coin. So they are dangerous, and they have got a lot to prove, and they will come to win. But I believe in Ange, and I believe in these boys, and I believe that whoever puts a cockerel on their chest come the game, that they're going to go for it, and they're going to go for it until the end. Now we've got hold tight back. Now we've got a lot more to prove. You know, now this is where the character comes from. This is where those that are in the side, where does the leadership, where does your responsibility come into it? You know, let's look at the problems that we've created for ourselves and some of the problems that were created against us today. And how can we fix those? How can we be better? How can we be stronger? This side is still in its infancy. We needed something like this, and it was always going to come. I think we all knew it was going to come. The thing that I don't think we thought it was going to come was 10 games unbeaten. I don't think you could have asked any Tottenham fan at the beginning of the season, and nobody, not one, would have told you we would have gone 10 games unbeaten.
Not even the most positive fans like you and me, Ricky. No one.
Exactly. No one, right?
No one.
Which says to me that we can put a run together, which says to me there is a change. There is day and night, you know, between last season and the season before to what we're doing right now. And I believe that Ange will find the solution to get us back to winning ways. It might not be as pretty. It might not be as fluid. It might not be as attacking. But do I believe that he's going to put the right players in the right places to kind of solve the problems that we've created for ourselves and the problems that Wolves created for us today? Yes, I do. So come on, Big Ange. Come on, the boys, and come on, you Spurs, because I believe that we will play that game and we will win that game. And then suddenly it flips on its head again. Suddenly the momentum is back with us. Suddenly the energy is back with us. Suddenly all of the supporters are back on side as well. And we go into that Man City game flying. That's what I hope. That's what I believe that is going to happen. And come on, let's fingers crossed it goes that way.
Right, I've got two final questions on this podcast. I'm going to give you the last one so you can all think about it. Describe the season in 3 words. That will be the last question. The next question, Ricky, I'm going to start with you on this one. The transfer window opens in just 50 days' time. What does Spurs need to do as a bare minimum to back Ange Postecoglou for Spurs to secure that top 4 place to get Champions League football next season?
I think it's obvious. I think we all said the same in the summer. We wanted to get this business done in the summer. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it done. But definitely another centre-back. I would ideally like a high-profile centre-back that could play left centre-back or right centre-back. Somebody like a Tapsoba would be fantastic. But he's just signed a new deal. And Leverkusen are flying right now. So I doubt that's going to happen. But somebody of that ilk, I think, would be fantastic. And then probably an attacking midfielder stroke an attacker. At the bare minimum, I think that's what we require. The 3 words that would describe this season: bloody fantastic, mate. That's what I would say.
Johnny, what does Spurs need to do as a bare minimum to get Champions League football again?
I think they need to get in a striker. And a defender, a centre defender. Richarlison being out, and even when he comes back, is he really the player that is going to fit into that style of play? I don't think so. I don't know. I still always have hope, but he's just not he's not prolific enough, I don't think, and makes a lot of mistakes when he's trying to pass the ball into certain players or receive the ball. In relation to the 3 words, a really amazing start. Would be what I would say in relation to the way it's gone so far. I mean, as you said, like 8 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses, and one of the losses, today's loss was, look, fair enough, we lost, but the other one during the week, that was a mad game, and it didn't really, explain exactly what was going on in that match. We were in the ascendancy, but it just didn't happen. But no, I think a striker, Johnson's good and all that. But with Son perfect. But I don't know. I think we need a real goal poacher as well. Somebody who can just slot the ball away, like a Teddy Sheringham or somebody like that. But is anyone like that available in January? I don't think so. And is there another Premier League club going to allow somebody like that to go to one of their competitors in January? Probably not. So I would allow the manager to choose who he wants, and because he seems to have a really good knack of picking the right player, and so far it's been going very well. So I'd allow him a bit more freedom, and I think Levy will do that. I think Levy sees what's going on here, and they seem to have a good relationship. So that's that. So really amazing start, Chris.
Yeah.
Gary, what are you going for?
I think I won't go about who we need in and out. I'm unsure with Richarlison. I'm hoping that some of the reason he's not really been on form is because of the injury and stuff. But yeah, maybe centre backs. But anyway, I think for the 3 words, I think keep the faith. Keep the faith.
Oh, that's nice. I like that, Gaz.
Yeah, just keep the faith. That's it.
Bit of Bon Jovi.
Do you know what my 3 words are? Loving Big Ange.
Come on.
Yeah.
He's transformed this football club, and I tell you what, where we were last season, no European football. I'm sure that Ange Postecoglou will deliver European football at the end of this season, and just the style, the class, everything that he has brought to this football club, I just think is absolutely fantastic. Ricky, let's end the show talking about Ange Postecoglou, because of course he has won Manager of the Month yet again for August, September and October. Only Jurgen Klopp, Antonio Conte and Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola has won it 4 on the trot before, but only those 3 managers have won it 3 on the trot. What an unbelievable start to Ange Postecoglou's time at Spurs.
My gosh, I am totally kind of blown away by Ange. The way that he's come in with his energy, with his temperament, with the way that he speaks. I love listening to him speak. Do you know what I mean? I feel I want to run through brick walls for him. I just, it's the manager that we've needed for so long. Do you know what I mean? Somebody with that style of football, somebody with that bravery, that risk taking. So it thoroughly deserved a hat-trick of awards. I think he's been fantastic for the first 3 months. I think that this month now is going to test him. It's going to test the squad. It's going to test his values. It's going to test his tactics. And I believe in Big Ange. I really do. And I can't believe how quickly I've kind of fell in love with him, to be fair. I remember when Conte came in, I was like, look, it's great that he's here. You can love him, but don't fall in love with him, because he'll be gone. Whether he does good or he does fantastic, he's going to go at some point. So don't fall in love with him. But the way that I've fallen for Ange so quickly, man, I'm just like, wow, I'm so happy that he's there. Even when you ask him about VAR or the referees and decisions and the way that he speaks about that and his opinions, it was during the week when they were talking about should managers kind of gather around and educate the LMA on how to ref games. And the way that he said, look, every single manager is kind of, as soon as you give him a rule, he's looking for the way that he can get around the rule. That's honest. That's integrity. And somebody like that, you want to play for. Somebody like that, you want to fight for. So Big Ange thoroughly deserved those hat-trick of awards. Keep it going. I know it was not going to go to his head. I know that he's not going to kind of take it in his stride and go, well, I've made it here in the Premiership now. He's going to keep fighting. And even the high line against, with 9 men against Chelsea, and with his tactics today and stuff like that, some would want to criticise, but I'm loving his way. And I love that he's risk-taking and his bravery, but I'm loving Big Ange instead. So listen, I'm so happy. Keep it going, Big Ange. I believe in you, and I believe in the messages that you're giving to the players that wear the cockerel on their chest. So carry on your great work, and big love.
Johnny, Gary, did you want to add anything about Ange?
No. Can you imagine if Ange was British Prime Minister? I got to hire taxes, mate. Yeah, no problem. That's fine. How much do you want, Ange? Oh yeah, 35% of what I earn. Grand, no problem. Yeah. It's because he hasn't been polished like all the other media training people. Because when you go into a club like that, you're given training by all these people that come in and tell you what you have to say and what you can't say. And I think it's because he's a bit rough and ready, and he just says it as it is. It's a really refreshing to hear. And I think in Ireland and in England, we're so used to having so many people in the media come on and saying the lovely things and speaking very eloquently. And then he comes on and goes, listen, mate, this is the way I want you to play, mate. You're going to go, okay, no problem. I understand it. If we're down to 5 men, that's what we're going to do, mate. You know, all this kind of stuff. And it's just great to hear. But I've been so happy with him here. I hope he stays for another 10 years or 20 years. It'd be great.
No, I love him, Chris. I think he's brilliant. And I think, look, the only reason why we've got all the other fans on our back is obviously when Harry Kane was sold and gone, they expected us to be in the bottom half of the table, like what Chelsea are and stuff like that. So for me, what I do love about him is he's not a crybaby like Lego Man and Klopp. Because for me, them two managers now, certainly Klopp in the last few years has really changed, and he's just, I can't bear him. And Lego Man is even worse. I mean, they bring out that statement, Woolwich and everything else, and then it's proven that the ball was in anyway. And that just goes to show the difference in class for me. But I will go back to, you know, I did like Mourinho in press conferences and stuff like that. He had a certain way about him. I did like Mourinho, but Conte for me was hard work. And what a breath of fresh air Ange is in comparison to certainly Nuno and Conte. For me, Ange is amazing, and I love that. I did like things about Mourinho, and I did think he was good. Like when Wheelchair said about, you know, I wouldn't want to play for Tottenham. Mourinho came out and said, well, who said we wanted Wheelchair anyway? Things like that. Mourinho had that bite about him that I loved. But overall, Ange is the best manager in that Premier League. And let's be honest, all the other supporting fans and stuff, they know that. And that's why they're giving us the abuse they are at the moment. Because look, we've lost 2 games. I mean, they thought we would have lost 10 games by now. And you know, and that is why we're getting the abuse on Twitter and everything else, Chris. And we need to remind ourselves about that. You know, yes, it is difficult when we lost to Chelsea. But look, we beat Chelsea last season anyway. You know, if you said to me at the start of the season, you're going to lose to Chelsea, but you'll beat Liverpool, I would have taken it because we beat Chelsea last season anyway. So let's just, you know, look at the bigger picture. Like what you said earlier, when I was listening to you, I'm now listening to you and thinking, do you know what? We've started great. We've done it without Harry Kane. We've got a few bumps, but I'm sure we'll bounce back. So come on, Tottenham.
See, it does prove that it takes 2 hours for Gary to see the bigger picture. But we get there in the end. This is why these podcasts are such a success. Gary, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you, and what are you up to at the moment? Gary.
Me.
Gaz. Come on, Gaz.
Me, sorry, I didn't hear that last bit yet. Listen, look, you'll find me, if not on your show, then on Twitter. I'll tell you where I was yesterday, Ricky. I was in your neck of the woods. I was in Watford doing a show. I said to Chris late last night when I got in, he said to me, what are you still doing awake? I said, I was on a ladies' night last night. I was organising a show, but I can't go to Watford without thinking of you, Ricky. So I just had to get that in there. So I was like, I was in Ricky's neck of the woods. But yeah, look, you can. I'm always on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm always giving abuse to Gary Lineker and Gary Neville on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Look, for me, a big part of football is when you're doing good, you can enjoy it. But when you're doing bad and the fans and the rival supporters come for you, I'm there. And I'll give them the abuse. And you know, and I'll take Chelsea fans on and Woolwich fans and everyone else. And that is part and parcel of being a Tottenham fan. You have to be ready for it because you know it's not going to be good all of the time. But bring it on. So, yeah, but a pleasure being on, Chris. And listen, just a quick mention, you know, we were talking about your 100,000 subscribers. We thought you would get it today, but I think you actually got it about 4 or 5 days ago. So well done you, mate. Amazing when you think you started going down the stadium, you know, when it was being built, to this is absolutely amazing. And sometimes, Chris, you know, as good as it is when we're winning and stuff, it was almost getting a bit like Man City. We're just winning every week. So actually, it makes the podcast a bit more fun, a bit more enjoyable, and a bit more content when we lose. So
no,
take the positives.
No. I much prefer talking about a win. No, definitely no.
But look how many more people you can get on your live chat and everything else when we lose, you know? There's positives to come out of everything, mate.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you're seeing the positives, Gary. Thanks so much for your time, Gary. Johnny, a pleasure having you back. If you look confused then about Ricky with the Watford story, Ricky, do you want to tell Johnny quickly about the Watford story?
Johnny, I mean, this story has been, oh my God, it's been rinsed to pieces. But New Year's Day, I got a ticket to go to Watford Tottenham. And basically, after a night out, an early morning, I was like, right, cool, I know my way to Tottenham, no worries. I went to Tottenham, you know, the lights were out, you know, the store was open, but there was nobody about, there was nobody on the train. I was like, what's going on here? I potted around for ages, waiting for Chris, went into the shop, got a call from him. All right, I'm outside, went outside to have a look, and I'm like, where are you, Chris? He's like, yeah, I'm just down the road from Vicarage Road. I'm just by their club shop. I said, what did you say? He said, yeah, I'm just down the road from Vicarage Road, like the club shop and stuff. I said, Vicarage Road? I said, mate, I've come to White Hart Lane. I was like, I thought it was at White Hart Lane. Do you know what I mean? Like, the home of football, do you know? Like, I knew my way to Tottenham. Brilliant. But yeah, so I went home for an away game. And this podcast and none of the fans will ever let me forget it. And I've just got to accept it. I just got to accept it. And I love you all for it as well.
Yeah. But Ricky, it's so funny. I'm in Watford. I'm on a show, and I'm in the car on the way up there laughing about when you went to Watford. How bizarre is that? It's mental.
No, he didn't go to Watford.
The family and the fans we are. It's brilliant. You know,
he didn't go to Watford. That's the whole point. But
that's the whole point. Yeah.
Big up Lee the Dorset Spur today, because he sent me a video before the game. You probably saw it, Ricky. That he said, "Where is everyone? Where is everyone?"
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Anyway, we've gone off topic. Johnny, thanks so much for your time this evening. Lovely to have you on again, and look forward to having you on again very soon. Where can people find you and what you're up to at the moment?
Well, just before I give that, congratulations on hitting your milestone, Chris, on YouTube and on your streaming and all that. And I remember the content you put up on the pre-match tour in Australia. I really enjoyed that video where you went to the zoo and you were going around to all the different places. And my brother, who's a Derby County fan who lives in Perth, has become a fan of your content as well. And he just said to say hello and to say well done. So congratulations, Chris. My ex, which is formerly Twitter, it's JohnnyBow1, and you can hear me on Dublin's Q102. I just have to go to their website, q102.ie, for all the details there.
Perfect.
Johnny, thank you so much. And Ricky, a pleasure having you back. Of course, you are one of the celebrities on the latest, it is now Series 16, isn't it, of Dancing on Ice, which is starting very soon. How is the training going? How's it all going?
It's going well, bro. It's going well. A little bit by little bit, we're getting there. There's still some technicalities that I'm not getting. And, you know, they are fast tracking us, you know, to get proficient at ice skating. And I started on 0. So where I started and where I am Friday, yesterday, it's definitely been a progression, slow progression, a little bit by little bit. But there's still so many technicalities and so many things that you need to get right. And, you know, as soon as they start adding arms and where your head's looking, it goes all over the place. And then you've got to dance with a partner. Then you've got to learn choreography. Then you've got to learn a lift or two. And we're not talking about a lift on the floor. We're talking about a lift on ice. Do you know what I mean? So it's been mental. But let me tell you, I'm enjoying every single part of this process. It's so nice to focus on a new skill, to learn something new, to kind of work towards the show. My partner, Annette, is fantastic. The ITV team have been amazing. They've been so supportive. There's been a couple of problems during the week, whether it be cars or schedules and stuff like that, and they've been so supportive. You know, whatever we need to kind of be proficient in this, they've given us, and the coaches as well that are part of it, they're amazing. I've got so much love and respect, and I'm in awe of all of the kind of professional skaters, because some of the stuff that they can do on ice is absolutely mind-blowing, phenomenal. Amazing. And yeah, I look at it like in confusion and be like, that can be done? Okay.
Ricky, can I ask you, when you started, was your fitness level at Dyer sort of level, or was it Ndombele level?
Oh my gosh, what a comparison. No, it was probably at Ben Davies level. That's where I was.
Are you at Van der Veer level yet?
No, I'm getting to Van der Ven, but I probably started at Davies.
Obviously, pre-hamstring tear, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's been a fantastic process, and I'm buzzing every day. It's tiring, mentally and physically.
Well done, you though.
Well, Ricky, we're just going to go to the judges now, so it's a 10 from me, okay?
Thank you, mate.
10 from me.
Thank you.
Ricky, let me just ask, how can the viewers and listeners, how can they get involved and support you in this show? Is it the fact when the live shows that we can vote for you?
Yeah, so when the live show starts, which will be in January, the first show will be January 14th right now. So yeah, there'll be voting lines and text lines, and you can tweet and hashtag and all of that jazz. And do you know what? Even if you don't tweet and tag and phone, because I know coming up for Christmas, you know, paying your electric bill, paying your heating bill, I know it's a lot for every single person out there.
Oh,
So
no, Ricky, me and Chris got loads of money. I'll be doing it non-stop, mate. My ADHD. I'll be like that.
And I love and appreciate, but like even those that can't, even if you watch and just support like that and kind of keep sending your messages of support and love, that's enough for me. So thank you all. I'll keep letting you guys know when it's time to vote, and you know, and the numbers and all of that jazz when we get closer to the show. But just the fact that you guys are there, kind of interested and supporting me along my journey, is a beautiful thing. So thank you. And thank you to every single one of them 100k followers as well, for all the hard work that Chris does, home, away, and pre-season. You know, fans that are not just in this country, but around the world, all you supporter groups, South Korea, India, Australia, Singapore, wherever it has been, you guys are phenomenal. And, you know, we hear you and we appreciate everything that you bring to this podcast, all your comments, all your jokes. Every time you get me about Watford, I still love you all. And, you know, from my point of view, I really do appreciate
that was my fault this time. Sorry, Ricky.
It's all right, mate. It's all right. No worries. But yeah, sending you all loads of love, and always an honor and a pleasure to be on, bro.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you so much. Thank you to Ricky. Thank you to Gary, and thank you to Johnny. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and a big thank you to everybody who does subscribe to this channel. They're all right. We did hit over 100,000 this week, which is an absolute surprise to me. I never ever thought that we would be hitting over 100,000. So thank you so much for all of your support. It means a lot. Enjoy the international break. Of course, content will still be out every single day. Tottenham news, etc., etc. So enjoy the international break, and we will be back with another Spurs Chat podcast after the Aston Villa game, where hopefully Spurs can get back to winning ways. But thank you, everyone. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on! Come on!